Sign up today at Mets.com/Delta Dugout. Get to Citi Field this Friday. The Mets take on the Red Sox at 7:10. All fans in attendance will receive a Mets NY logo T-shirt courtesy of Pepsi. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Free Shirt Fridays. Time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag SNY DataStrongFan, and you might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Mets and Phils on a beautiful night in Philadelphia. Can you get it in the cup? Nice. First pitch coming up. Cologne having some fun as Bart passes by. I believe the Fanatics listed at 365.
Yeah, he hopes.
Just for reference. Here's your Geico starting lineup for the Mets. Interesting, Michael Cuddyer in the cleanup spot against a right-hand pitcher. I'm not sure we thought we'd see that again this year, but coming off a couple of good days, Cuddyer in the middle of the lineup. David Wright getting the day off after playing his first 2 games off the disabled list, and Anthony Recker catching Bartolo Colon at times this year. That's been a good combination.
Well, this is the home debut of Jared Eichhoff. You see the Toyota numbers. He pitched awfully well, 6 shutout innings against the Marlins. You'll see a good hard slider, good fastball. He'll throw a changeup once in a while. And defensively behind Jared this evening, Coors Light defense. Cody actually started 59 times in left field, 28 at third base, Herrera and Dominic Brown. Darnell Sweeney gets to start at second base. This is his first one for the Phillies. And behind the plate, he had a big home run in the first game of the series, Cameron Rupp.
Well, the Fanatics might be able to tease Cologne, but, you know, Bart can tease him right back.
Every time Bart would look back, he'd wave and say hi, and then he'd make fun of him again.
Well, Cologne's been good start, bad start, good start, bad start. He's due for a good one tonight, and the Mets are hoping that they can keep this roll going. The Mets are on a fascinating stretch these last 5 days. 3 times in the last 5 days, a Mets starting pitcher has given up 7 runs or more. Okay, and they've won all 3 of those games. In the last 14 years, the Mets only had 5 games where their starter gave up 7 runs and they won. And they've done it 3 times in the last 5 days.
And Jonathan Neese even got the win in that game, giving up 7 runs in Colorado. Remarkable.
But it's inconceivable, because remember this team back in June, if they gave up 3 runs, they figured they had no chance to win. So the Mets not relying nearly as much on great starting pitching as they were earlier, a much more well-rounded club, and they've won 5 straight. And Curtis Granderson leads off tonight. Eichhoff's first pitch is inside, and we're underway. Granderson 0 for 3 in the series, walked a couple of times last night, 64 walks on the year. That's 8th in the National League. And they've got the shift on against him, and he tries to hold the swing, and he went around. 1 ball, 1 strike. Beautiful night, 79 degrees at game time. Very much lower humidity than we had the last 2 nights. Jared Eichhoff grew up in Evansville, Indiana, went to junior college in Illinois, drafted by Texas in the 15th round of the 2011 draft. He's been Phillies property for less than a month, came over in the Cole Hamels trade, one of 5 prospects that they acquired when they dealt Hamels to Texas.
Well, 4 prospects and Matt Harrison, right?
And the slider misses, a full count to Granderson. When Eichhoff threw 6 scoreless innings against Miami, he was the first Philly starter to allow no runs in his debut since Cole Hamels.
Wow, that's irony.
How about that? 9 years ago. Granderson pulls 1 foul. So the Phillies right now playing with 3 rookies in their starting rotation. We didn't see Aaron Nola in this series. We saw Adam Morgan in the first game. He didn't fare particularly well. And now getting our first look at Eichhoff. So they've had a lot of turnover in that rotation as the year has gone along. 3-2 coming, and Granderson hits one to center field, hit well. Back goes Herrera to the warning track. He's got just enough room, but he drops the ball. And Granderson pulls in at second base. Now Herrera, who has had trouble getting good routes to the ball, this time appeared to take a good route, but he simply didn't catch it when he got there.
Well, he took a great route, like you said, but once he got there, he almost kind of relaxed and didn't look it right into the glove. And even after it bounced off the wall and came back to him, he didn't know where the baseball was, and it was in his glove.
He was fortunate it did. Otherwise, Granderson could have easily gone to third, but you can see Herrera still looking for it, even though it's right in his glove. So an error on Herrera to start the night allows Granderson to reach. And now Yoenis Cespedes, who after a leadoff error last night hit a 2-run homer in the first inning against Jerome Williams. Cespedes has homered in each of the first 2 games of this series, 25 for the year, 7 as a Met. The flags are blowing from left across toward right as they were last night. You suspect that were the wind blowing differently, that ball might have blown out of the ballpark.
Well, when the Mets hit 8 home runs in the first game, it was a lot more humid than it is tonight. Ball will not travel as well. Got to be a lot of nerves for this youngster. You know, there's a lot of responsibility when you're traded for a superstar. There's Murph on deck and Cole Hamels. When you make your home debut, the home folks are looking for something special.
And he's the first of the prospects to arrive from the Hamels deal. And fastball for a strike, 1-1. Cespedes for the season hitting .331 with runners in scoring position, .360 as a Met. And he takes the breaking ball off the plate, 2-1.
You know, Gary mentioned that stat before, the Mets against starting pitchers that are rookies, 16-4 this year. But you know what's really interesting? As we see all of these clubs, their best up-and-coming pitchers, they're 90 to 95 guys. The Mets guys are 96 to 100 guys as far as velocity.
Well, when you think about Harvey and DeGrom and Syndergaard, and I guess you can throw Matz into that category too, there are probably a dozen guys like that in the big leagues. And the Mets have 4 of them.
And one's hurt, Wheeler, with Tommy John. You know, he'll come back throwing 97, 98 also. There's Jacob looking a little better, got a little more color in his cheeks.
A little IV going a couple of nights ago after food poisoning that helped to mar his start. He was a little unhappy that that news got out, by the way, because he didn't want to make any excuses for his poor outing.
That's admirable, to tell you the truth. A lot of guys don't mind hiding behind sometimes when they have a bad start. He was not. He didn't want anyone to know, and interesting that someone did find out. They asked Terry Collins didn't know until the third inning that he had been sick.
And Terry said, maybe I should have known that before the game began. Not that it would have made any difference. Cespedes toward the hole. Backhand stop by Galvis. The long throw not in time. It's an infield hit for Cespedes. Terrific play by Galvis just to get to that ball. And the Mets have runners at the corners and nobody out.
Well placed by Cespedes. He's got the speed. There's no way that Galvis is going to make the play. But you know what's even better? The great read by Granderson. Because the ball to your right, you always stay at second base. But once he saw the third baseman leave his location, he took the extra base. Very good base runner.
So the Mets with an instant scoring opportunity and a bit of drama here as Daniel Murphy steps in. There's Larry Bowa, who was ejected last night, and the shots of Bowa screaming at Murphy became an internet sensation today.
Well, if Bowa was pitching, there would be no drama at all. But you got a rookie out there, and he's just trying to get through the first inning.
And it's first and third and nobody out. So there's no way you're going to hit Murphy in this spot anyway. Murphy 3 for 10 in this series, 2 doubles and that home run on which he posed Monday night. And he pulls that one foul, low bridging his first base coach Tom Goodwin.
That's the home run you were talking about, the 7th for the Mets. A little pose, a point, and a little toss. And then last night, Bowa. I'll let you read his lips.
Something about flip and ribs. You get the rest. Eichhoff quickly ahead 0-2, just looking for an out. And the breaking ball, Murphy tries to lay off, and he stopped the swing in time. Dan Bellino with the call, 1-2. Rupp down in the dirt to make sure there was no wild pitch.
Good stop by Rupp. Let's see if Murph goes. Good job of holding that bat back. I guess we never really talk about what the umpire at third base is looking for is the head of that bat to come forward in front of the plate. Murphy never allowed that to happen.
Murphy, the second toughest hitter in the National League to strike out this year. A strikeout every 13.4 plate appearances. Only Andrelton Simmons has been tougher to fan. Michael Kadire hitting cleanup tonight, waiting on deck. One-two from Eichhoff, and Murphy pops it up. Howard should have room. Ball blowing toward the stands, and it blows beyond his reach. Well, that's the effect of that wind blowing left to right. That started in the field of play and just kept working its way toward the railing. And eventually too far for Howard to reach.
You know, when things are going right for your ball club, every little thing goes your way. A ball that should be an out for Eichhoff ends up being in the stands.
So an extra chance for Murphy. Murphy hitting .317 with runners in scoring position this year. Granderson at third, Cespedes at first, and nobody out. Hard-working first inning already for Jared Eichhoff in his home debut. And Murphy hooks one foul.
Well, that's the pitch they said that was so outstanding against the Marlins, that slider, but the Mets have been able to foul it off so far.
Eichhoff pitched for 3 different minor league teams this year. 22 starts, was 12-5 with a .385 ERA. He made 3 starts at the Phillies AAA team at Lehigh Valley before he was called up, following the deadline deal with Texas. And Murphy taps one. That'll get a run in. Galvis's only play is to first. In time to get Murphy as Granderson scores, and it's 1-0 New York. So Murphy picks up his 53rd RBI.
Well, for Granderson, he can see that the shortstop's going to make this play. The ball's deep enough. He can score on the 6-3.
So the Mets score in the first inning for the third time in the last 4 games, and now Kadire, who's had a big series so far, 4 for 5 with 2 doubles and a home run. And the hit that put the Mets in front to stay last night is a pinch hitter. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Kadire has had particular success against the Phillies. You go back to the middle of 2013, he's hit in 20 straight games against Philadelphia. And he lines this one to left center, and that's going to go up the gap and all the way back to the wall. Cespedes in to score. Kadire pulls in at second base with an RBI double. And the Mets have a 2-0 lead, and Kadire's got a 21-game hitting streak against the Phillies. Horses for courses, right? Kadire now 5 for 6 in this series.
Every little button that Terry pushes is working right now. Decides to go with the right-handed hitting Kadire against the right-handed pitcher Eichhoff. Batting cleanup. And he scores Cespedes with this ringing double.
33 hits in his last 72 at-bats against the Phillies. That's 458.
Wow.
So here's Wilmer Flores. Mets with already 2 runs home in the first inning, still only 1 out. Wilmer 3 for 10 in this series with 2 home runs, and he takes a slider off the plate for ball 1. Michael Conforto hitting 6th in the order tonight, waiting on deck. Well, the Mets have been a different team since they started acquiring offensive talent with the arrival of Uribe and Johnson on July 25th. Since that deal and all the subsequent additions, Mets first in the National League in runs per game. They were last in runs per game before that date.
And they're testing this young right-hander here in the first inning. You can tell by his body language. Cameron Rupp went out to talk to him. He's a little rattled right now.
Well, this has been a beleaguered Phillies pitching staff all year. Hasn't really mattered who's been out there. They are next to last in the National League in ERA. They've given up the most hits. They have the second fewest strikeouts, and they've given up the most home runs.
They're 21-6 when their starter goes 6 or more innings. They've only gone 65 times. They've gone less than 6 innings. That doesn't work. There's Bobby McClure, the pitching coach.
2-1 to Flores. There's a good slider by Eichhoff, and it's 2-2. Well, Jared Eichhoff had never had the experience of giving up a run in the major leagues until this inning. 6 scoreless against the Marlins his first time out. Also did some hitting in that game, drove in a couple of runs. Breaking ball hit toward the hole. That's a base hit. Kadire had to hold up. He'll go to third and stop there. The third hit of the inning for New York, as Wilmer Flores finds the hole. First and third, 1 out.
Well, they've been able to foul off his good slider. His fastball's been pretty true, and this is a curveball here ripped by Flores. So Bob McClure, their pitching coach, is going to go out and try to settle down his young right-hander.
Well, what the Mets have done this season, and it predates the offensive explosion, is that they have handled the poorer teams in the National League. The teams with the 4 worst records in the National League are the Rockies, the Marlins, the Phillies, and the Reds. The Mets are 29-5 against those 4 teams, and the rest of the news is that the Mets still have 18 games left, including tonight, against those 4 teams.
Well, you know, you'll hear folks say, well, you know, they're beating up on the bad teams. That's always been the recipe for success and having a championship season, is you play kind of 500 ball against the good clubs, and you beat up on the clubs that are having difficult years. That's what the Mets are doing now.
That's a beating the Phillies 7 straight times, and they're 22-5 against the Phillies dating back to early last season. So 2 runs already in, a chance for more with first and third and 1 out. Now Michael Conforto 1 for 4 in the series. And Goff misses with a fastball. Well, the National League East has been the weakest by winning percentage in Major League Baseball this year, and the Mets have taken full advantage of that.
We should add an L in there, National League least.
It's not the worst it's ever been.
No.
Bouncing ball toward the hole. That goes through for a base hit. Cuddyer comes in to score the third run of the inning. Michael Conforto with an RBI single, and it's 3-0 New York.
I mean, ground balls that could be double plays end up hitting the hole. Nice job by Conforto hitting that hole. Situational hitting. Put the ball in play. Pulls it to the right side, gets himself an RBI.
So 3 runs home, still only 1 out. There's really been only 1 hard hit ball in this inning, and that was Cuddyer's ball that found the gap in left center. The rest have all found holes. It all started with the drop fly ball by Herrera. Here's Uribe hitting 7th in the order, and he takes a strike. Uribe playing third base tonight. David Wright has the night off. Terry Collins said David will probably play the next 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then get Sunday off. And the slider off the plate, 1-1. David was out early for some infield drills today, trying to get him up to the speed of the game. 4 hits in the inning. Uribe batting with 2 on and 1 out. It's the hardest pitch Eichhoff's thrown. Well, this is the first play of the game. Granderson's fly ball that Herrera dropped for an error that opened the door.
Remember last night it was a simple ground ball to Ryan Howard, who booted it. Same start.
Flores at second, Conforto at first. And that's away, and now it's 3-1 to Uribe. Well, what do you do if you're Pete McCann and you had to go to your bullpen in the 4th inning last night and the 6th inning, 4th inning Monday night, 6th inning last night?
This young man's going to have to suck up some innings. Simple as that.
3-1 to Uribe. Dangerous spot for Eichhoff. And it goes to the backstop for ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So the first walk of the inning to go with 4 hits and an error. And now Anthony Recker will bat with the bases full. Well, last night Michael Cuddyer had that big pinch hit with the bases loaded, which raised the Mets average this year with the bases loaded to .387. Again, that number was high even when the Mets weren't doing any other hitting.
Right. That's right.
Earlier in the year. Well, Eichhoff has already thrown 33 pitches in the inning, and he could badly use a double play ball right now.
And the Mets just keep piling on. That's what you have to do.
Recker's last start came Sunday. He had an RBI double in Denver. Only has 9 hits for the season. Bases loaded, 1 out, and takes a breaking ball for a strike.
I mean, when you're going as well as the Mets are going on the road, which has been difficult all year for them, you just want to step on the other team's throat. I mean, it's an awful way, but that's how it goes.
Less difficult on this trip. That's 6-1 now on this road trip. Record drives 1 foul, 0-2. Well, barring a double play, Bartolo Colon is going to have that great situation that a pitcher rarely gets: a turn at bat before he takes the mound. How often do you get that?
You love that, because you know that some points have already been scored.
.2 from Eichhoff, and the slider away. Recker playing tonight after Travis d'Arnaud started the first 2 games of the series. And Travis, last few days, his bat has just looked as good as it has all year.
Well, you know when he's right is when he starts getting the extra base hits. That's the difference. And they don't have to be home runs, but when he starts hitting the ball in the gaps for doubles, you know he's locked in.
7 hits the last 3 games, 5 extra base hits for Travis. Record takes the fastball high, 2-2. You know, one of the things that teams worry about with young pitchers is volume of pitches in one inning.
Right.
And Eichhoff is reaching that difficult tipping point.
There's some organizations, they don't allow their young pitchers to throw over 35 in one inning. If that happens, they are obligated to take him out.
Can't really do that at the big league level.
Of course.
Record goes down on the high fastball, and Eichhoff has the second out. His first strikeout.
Well, he only throws 91, 92, but he's got some life upstairs on that fastball. That was his best sequence of pitches so far. And how about Bartolo coming up with the bases loaded?
Chance to do some damage. He's got 6 hits and 3 RBIs this year. Flores at third, Conforto at second, Uribe at first, and 2 down. And Colon takes a rip at a slider, 0-1. Why not?
Bart decides when he's going to swing in the on-deck circle.
Look at that. He has hit when the ducks have been on the pond. Time to clear some ducks, Bart. And he pulls one. Nice backhand stop by Blanco, and he gets the force to end the inning. Bart was that close to a bases clearing double. Never bothered dropping the bat. Now the Mets put up a 3 spot in the first inning. Herrera opened the door, and the Mets come storming through, and they hand Colon a 3-0 lead as he takes them out. First start in the series, he came over in the Chase Utley trade from the Dodgers. Cameron Rupp back behind the plate after hitting a home run in the first game of the series. Otherwise, the same group that the Phillies have had out there in the first 2 games to face Bartolo Colon.
Well, here's the cheap numbers for Bartolo in his 24 starts. That high ERA, lots of hits per innings pitched. Opponent's average almost 300. But going for his 215th win with 3 runs on the first. Defensively behind Bartolo, here at Citizens Bank Park, presented by Lexus. Cespedes is 14th start in center field. Conforto in left, Granderson in right. Michael Kadire gets the start at first base. That's his 11th at first base. And Anthony Recker seems to be the personal catcher now of Bartolo Colon.
Darnell Sweeney gets his second major league start. His first one was in center field the other day. Today playing second base. He's a switch hitter with excellent speed. 1 for 5 in his big league career. The one hit was a home run, and Colon throws him a strike. Sweeney came over in the deal for Chase Utley a week ago today. So he's still suffering a little culture shock. Fouls went off, and it's 0-2.
Well, he expected to be a September call-up for the Dodgers for their stretch run. But the trade now, he's here with the Phillies, a last-place team with a chance to play a little more.
He's been a second baseman most of his career. The Dodgers moved Sweeney to the outfield this season, which is interesting on this Phillies team because they've got Odubel Herrera, who did exactly the same thing. He's been a second baseman who's now playing center field. So they'll have to figure out what to do with Sweeney and what his best spot is. Hit .271 at Oklahoma City this year before the trade. And he hits one up the middle for a base hit. So behind in the count, Sweeney has his second big league hit.
Interesting. Bart just stayed all away with the fastballs against Sweeney. He made the adjustment. Not a lot of movement on the fastball in that first at bat there against Sweeney for Cologne.
So now Freddie Galvis, who continues to be a big pain in the Mets side, hit a 2-run homer last night. 15 hits in 11 games against the Mets this year. 4 for 10 in this series. And Uribe comes well in on the grass at third. Sweeney, a threat to run, had 32 steals in AAA this year.
AAA, what? Oklahoma City?
Right.
Okay.
Amazing the Dodgers in Oklahoma
yeah,
City.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's supposed to be in Albuquerque.
That's right.
Not anymore. Of course, the Mets are supposed to be in Norfolk, but that's
a whole nother story.
It's a long ago story now. Galvis takes a strike. Galvis 3 hits and 6 career at bats against Cologne. Bartolo, since becoming a Met, has handled the Phillies. He's 5-1 in 6 starts against the Phils in his 2-year Mets career. Back to Bart, right on target to Flores, and they turn the 1-6-3 double play. Nicely handled, 2 out and nobody on.
What was nice there is there's no panic in Cologne. When you get a comebacker, you almost want to slow your body down and not rush anything because you have plenty of time. And he just showed a lot of patience, stepped and fired a strike, hit the chest of Wilmer Flores. Someone was covering this time. That's a good thing.
The last time we saw a play like that, that was the Bobby Parnell play. The ball went into center field, and that was the catalyst that got Bobby sent to the disabled list. Here's Odubel Herrera, who's 1 for 7 in this series, hitting at .291 for the year.
Now, the only time you rush this play is if the guy in the batter's box can fly. But he just took his time. He hit him right across the letters with the throw. And that's exactly how you do it. Bart can field his position, I'll tell you.
Well, the Mets have several very good fielding pitchers. I guess DeGrom would probably be at the top of the list.
But he gets in the best fielding position of all the pitchers.
Well, because his delivery is so easy.
Delivery's easy. And also, he gives up a lot of hits. So you want to be in a position to stop some of those hits. Oh, stretching his neck there.
Bad pillow?
Bad hamburger, bad pillow.
Rough trip to Philly. Thank God for the cookies. Ryan Howard, who has hit home runs in each of the first 2 games of this series, would be next.
Well, there's a lot of responsibility on Cologne tonight, not only to not waste this great effort of the Mets scoring 3 in the first, but he's got to get deep into this game. The Mets have a tired bullpen.
It's about to get 10 1/3 innings out of their pen the first 2 games of the series. Herrera takes one the other way for a base hit. Conforto over to cut it off. A 2-out single for Herrera, and that'll get Howard to the plate in the first inning.
This Herrera kid has been quite a find. Just a beautiful stroke here, going the opposite way and hit right on the nose. See, he's trying to come in. Ball bleeds out right over the middle of the plate. Herrera takes advantage.
So now Ryan Howard, 3 for 8 in this series with 2 home runs. He's driven in 5. Now has 44 career home runs against the Mets. They're the all-time home run leaders against the Mets. Howard up to 6th on the list, presented by DraftKings. 1 behind Aaron, 16 away from Pops for the all-time lead. He's got 2 home runs against Colon in his career. And Colon runs one inside, a ball and a strike.
That fastball in that he throws, he's got to make sure he gets that in. If he throws that same pitch that he threw to Herrera, Howard's going to lose it.
Well, both Howard's home runs in this series have gone to left field.
This is the home run last night. See the ball, anything middle of the plate away, he can cover. And he just has tremendous power to left center and left field.
Colon's been vulnerable to the home run ball this year. 22 allowed. That's 7th in the National League. He's given up more hits than any pitcher in the National League this year. 173 now in 145 innings. Howard lines one into center field, and he's got a base hit. Herrera pulls in at second. That double play is looking huge right now. 3 hits in the inning for the Phillies.
Well, again, trying to go away with that fastball and up. That's where Recker wanted it, but it was down. So the young Eichhoff doesn't really give up too many hard hit balls. One maybe with Kadire. He gives up 3 runs. Colon gets 1 more out, and he's given up a lot of bullets this inning. He can get out with no runs.
Eichhoff had 1 fielding mistake behind him that cost him. Colon made 1 good fielding play on his own that has helped him. Herrera at second, Howard at first with 2 down. Now Andres Blanco, who's been swinging the bat well, so he's gotten a chance to play every day at third base since the injury to Maikel Franco, who suffered a broken wrist and might miss the rest of the year. Blanco's got an 8-game hitting streak going, hitting .406 over the 8 games. And he takes the changeup for a strike.
Wow, first pitch changeup. I don't know how many times we've seen Colon do that since he's been a Met. Not many.
He's throwing his fastball 85% of the time this year. Changeup 5%. Ball and a strike to Blanco. Part-time player is hitting .312 this year. Cody Ashe would be next.
Bartolo still kind of tweaking his neck a lot out there. I don't know if he pulled something. I thought he might have hurt it on the first swing he took and his at bat.
Fastball for a strike, 1 and 2. Well, the thing you were concerned about with Bart coming into this game was his forearm after he got hit by a pitch trying to bunt in his last start in Colorado. But pronounced himself good to go yesterday and didn't think it was going to be a concern. One-two coming, and Blanco hits it in the air to center. Should be easy for Cespedes, and that retires the side. So Colon gives up 3 hits in the opening inning, but no runs. Lots of love for the Mets in Philadelphia, at least from their fans. 3-0 after 1. First inning for Jared Eichhoff in his first inning on the mound at Citizens Bank Park. 40 pitches, 3 runs, and he'll start right back at the top of the order with Curtis Granderson, who reached on an error and scored in the first, and he takes a strike. Granderson, Cespedes, and Murphy against Eichhoff in the second.
Whenever I think of young pitchers coming up for the Phillies, I always think of Marty Bystrom. Remember Marty Bystrom went 5-0 in 1980?
Late in the season,
yep.
Yeah. He was essential to the Phillies that year when they won their first ever World Championship.
Right.
How about Mel Stottlemyre with the '64 Yankees?
That's right. Oh,
well, there's a hello.
Yeah, that's a head high one. Back in there is Curtis. Might have got a little advice when he went to the dugout. Do some stuff inside, son.
Well, after the Mets hit 8 home runs on Monday night, regardless of celebrations and bat flips, you would certainly expect the Phillies to pitch more inside.
Well, I think there's a change up there from Eichhoff. I think that if you're a young pitcher, and I know this is really hard, but if you've been watching the last 2 nights, you can really help your street cred with your teammates if you come out and be a little tougher, you know, inside.
7th pitch to Granderson, and that's up and in on a full count. In his first start in Miami, he gave up 5 hits. The lefties had 4 of them, 4 for 8. And he strikes out Granderson with a nice sinker. That's his 2nd strikeout. 1 down in the 2nd. Well, Jared Eichhoff making his Phillies' 2nd start, and there's his girlfriend Morgan Lane, who had herself quite an emotional roller coaster in that first inning.
This is all her reactions to what was going on. That probably was the era. What are we thinking? Is he going to make a living with this team? Make a play, guys. Awesome. That is great.
I think that last reaction was to Cologne's ball that almost went down the line. You know, hang on tight.
She got goosebumps.
Cespedes takes wide for ball 1. It's not easy, you know, being the party of the second party.
Well, what's strange for the significant others of the players is that players have something in common. Baseball. They've been playing it their whole lives. But a lot of their significant others are all grouped together, and sometimes they don't have anything in common.
And their own interests may be at odds with one another.
Yeah.
Cespedes pops one up into shallow right. Howard going out. Brown coming in, and Howard makes a nice catch. Wow. Ryan Howard running about as far as we've ever seen him to get that pop-up.
That's as fine a defensive play I've seen Ryan Howard make. Dominic Brown was not coming in very hard from right field, so he was solo alone to make that play. This Brown coming in late, he wasn't going to have a chance at it. And what a nice play by Howard.
Looking like it. So
I love it.
It's only the 2nd inning. He's already a wreck.
That's what happens, I'm telling you.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Daniel Murphy, who grounded out and drove in a run his first time up. Well, if they're ever going to hit him, this would be the time, right?
Yeah.
Ball 1 to Murphy.
Not even close.
It was very interesting before the game, the brief meeting between Larry Bowa and Terry Collins, old friends and members of the same coaching staff at one point.
But not using their friendship to anything today. They had a discussion, but it happened very quickly, and Bowa kind of called off the jam quickly. He did not want to hear it or hear any explanation from Terry.
Murphy cracks one to center, and Herrera moves back. And one hands it to retire the side. Eichhoff pitches a 1-2-3 second, still 3-0 Mets. lettering on there. That used to be Joe Frazier's gym on North Broad Street here in Philly.
It's appropriate. He put enough people to sleep. It's one punch.
Smoking Joe. He was special. Relentless.
Oh, he was
just
great.
kept barreling in. Took a lot of punches. Cody Ashley lifts one to left field, and Conforto's right there to play it. And that's the first out of the bottom of the second.
I just remember that there were two camps. You either were Ali or Frazier. There was no gray in there, and you liked one guy or the other guy.
Well, and you know, Ali exacerbated a lot of that.
Of course.
And years later apologized for a lot of the things he said about Joe Frazier, but he was just trying to hype the fight, and their fights were epic.
Was it Cosell who said down goes Frazier?
Yes. I love the knockout prices on the betting store.
Great.
Perfect. Talk about synergy. Cameron Rupp takes a strike. Rupp started the opening game of the series and hit a home run into the upper bullpen in center field, 460 feet away. He is a big man.
Yes,
who,
he is.
when he connects, can hit it a long way.
You know how you know you're a big man? When the number on the back of your jersey looks tiny. It doesn't even fit him. You need bigger numbers when you got a back that size.
Well, they make him big in Texas. He's the Texas Longhorn. Toward the hole, past a diving Flores, and Rupp has a base hit. Rupp said that the longest home run he ever hit was in the College World Series at Rosenblatt Stadium. He hit one over the batter's eye.
Wow.
Yeah.
Topspin just got Flores. Not enough range to get there.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Dominic Brown, who's having a good series, 4 for 9, including a home run against Jacob deGrom on Monday night. 4 hits now through the first 7 batters against Cologne, but all singles. Brown lifts one to center, and Cespedes right there to play it. And that's the second out. So Cologne getting a couple of quick outs here in the second. And now they'll face the pitcher Eichhoff. Now, Jared Eichhoff came up through the Texas organization, so he never batted in the minor leagues. He went to junior college, never batted there. He had never had an at-bat since high school, and then he comes up, and his first big league game, first at-bat since high school, gets a hit and drives in 2 runs.
Wow.
Huh. Shouldn't be that easy.
No.
Right? Now, he was a third baseman in high school, so he batted a lot there. Because, you know, some high school leagues now, the pitchers don't bat there either.
Well, we used to kiddingly ask Frank Viola if he was DH4 in Little League when he first came over to the Mets. But Frankie made himself into a pretty good hitter.
Not really.
I mean, I shouldn't say that. Not a hitter. I shouldn't even use that in the same sentence. He made himself into not an automatic out. How's that?
He was lighter-esque.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We'd put Frankie and Al in the same category.
Exactly.
Left-hand hitters who might occasionally make contact.
I don't care. Just have Frankie keep working with these young guys before they get here.
Exactly right. On their pitching.
Yes.
He's doing a great job of that. Eichhoff down on 3 pitches, and Cologne has his first strikeout of the night. A hit and 1 left after 2, 3-0 Mets. SNY.TV, featuring pitch-by-pitch coverage, player cards, and in-depth stats. Check out SNY Game Day on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Well, one day, Betsy got to do some sewing.
That's right. Only needed 13 then.
Sewed herself a flag with 13 stars, 13 stripes. And that's the Betsy Ross house here in Philadelphia.
I was walking all around Philly today. One of the best towns, I think, to walk in the United States.
Great history. It's really grown up over the years too. Michael Cuddyer lifts one to shallow right. Dominic Brown comes in, and with one pitch, Jared Eichhoff has the first out in the third. Yeah. So Eichhoff's retired 6 in a row since that ugly first inning.
Sorry, Gary. When we played here in the 80s, I would have to say Philadelphia's a little grittier than it is now. It's a real foodies town now. Great restaurants, places to go.
Philly's gone upscale.
Yes, it has.
But they still have the cheesesteaks.
We got to keep those.
Well, there was a long time when the skyscrapers didn't exist in Philadelphia because no building was allowed to be higher than the brim of William Penn's hat atop City Hall. And so it was a low-rise town. Still is, for the most part. Flores hits one to short on the backhand. Galvis makes the long throw on target. And on 3 pitches, Eichhoff has the first 2 outs in the third. It's a town of great universities with great college basketball tradition, the Big Five.
And just some beautiful areas that are just outside the city centers. Just, you know, the Villanova area. I mean,
the main line.
Yeah.
That's Center City, Philadelphia. So 7 in a row retired by Eichhoff, and now Conforto pops one foul. Conforto had a base hit to drive and a run his first time up. Michael threw 67 big league at bats, now has 12 runs batted in. So he has been more and more productive.
Scored 19 runs too.
On base percentage over .360 now. Curveball misses badly. 1-1. Conforto gets under one to right field. Brown started back, but now has plenty of time to come in. And a very easy inning for Jared Eichhoff. 6 pitches to get the Mets 1-2-3. Still 3-0. The backside of the Philadelphia Art Museum. Philadelphia, a town that has more public art than any other city in the country. Second time through the batting order for Bartolo Colon as we start the bottom of the third. Darnell Sweeney had a base hit to center his first time and grounds this one on the right side. Easy hop for Murphy. One pitch and one out for Colon in the third. Meanwhile, in Washington, Matt Kemp a 2-run double, Justin Upton a 2-run homer in the third off Gio Gonzalez, and the Padres lead the Nats 4-0 as they go to the bottom of the third. Come on, update the scoreboard.
San Diego's been playing better baseball of late. 7-3 in their last 10.
3 games under 500 now, and still on the edge of contention. 7.5 out. Yeah. But in fourth place because they've got the Diamondbacks as well as the Giants and Dodgers in front of them. Here's Freddie Galvis, who would have come back into a double play his first time. So the Nats behind early. They're feeling much better about themselves, though. They finally got their projected starting 8 on the field for the first time last night, and rang up 8 runs to beat San Diego, their third straight win.
Ryan Zimmerman hit a grand slam home run that put that game out of reach. He's pitching for Washington tonight. Gio. Now this is 2 games he struggled.
The home run Upton hit against him, only the 7th he's given up all year.
Wow.
That's amazing. Placed foul, 2-2. It's played by the ball girl. This time it was out of play.
It was.
That's one happy customer right there. Two from Colon, and it's slapped foul.
The streets were loaded with Mets fans today. Everyone in there orange and blue and walking around Philadelphia. It's a great town to come and watch a game and have a lot of stuff to do during the day. Here to Washington, D.C.
And it's so easy to get here.
That's right.
Hop on the train and you're here in an hour and a half. Full count to Galvis. Colon has walked none tonight, struck out 1. His last start in Colorado, he walked 2 and struck out 1. It was the first time in 2 years as a Met that he had more walks than strikeouts in a start. Nothing was going right for him that night except for the fact that the Mets scored 14 runs and got him off the hook. Galvis plugs one to deep right field, right down the line, hooking. Foul.
Boy, Galvis has got a lot more pop than I thought he had. 6 home runs on the year, but
interesting at bat, right? He had a couple of pitches he tried to slap down the left field line, and then he turns on one.
Yeah.
Juba Herrera waiting on deck. Eighth pitch of the at bat coming from Colon to Galvis. Fists that one foul. Pirates put up a 6 spot in the second against Chris Narveson in Miami. Pittsburgh 7, Miami 2 in the third.
Narveson came in relief and pitched well against the Mets. If you remember, Narveson, the old left-hander from Milwaukee Brewers.
Marlins beat the Pirates last night. Brad Hand went 8 innings for the win. Again, the 3-2. And Galvis, another foul ball, running up Colon's pitch count. So Pittsburgh starts the night 2 games up on the Cubs for the first wild card, and 4.5 behind the Cardinals in that Central Division. Those 3 teams are the best 3 records in the league.
Cubs are in San Francisco. That starts later.
Beat the Giants last night 8-5. Jake Arrieta got his 16th win, and he's putting himself in the Cy Young conversation. 3-2, and a swing and a miss on a pitch in the dirt. And Ricker slaps the tag on Galvis. That's the second out. Second strikeout for Colon. There are the division races with the games between contenders listed. So Pirates, Cubs, and Cardinals, they've got plenty of action against each other coming down the stretch.
Who would have thought Mets have the biggest lead in the National League?
Can't quite match the Royals, who have a 13-game lead in the American League Central. But anyway, I was talking about Arrieta, 16 wins, and he moved ahead of Jacob deGrom into second in the National League in ERA.
He is. Well, the Mets saw him a couple times this year. He is fantastic. Unhittable slider.
Here's Herrera with 2 out and nobody on, and he takes a strike.
And Schwarber hit another home run. Quietly doing it because Chris Bryant gets all the notoriety.
Seen Schwarber? You see how big he is?
Oh,
he's a mountain.
He's a fire hydrant of a man.
I mean, we used to look at Evan Gattis and think that he was the biggest, bulkiest, strongest guy. I think Schwarber's got him beat.
He's huge.
By the way, Gattis hit 2 home runs at Yankee Stadium today as the Astros beat the Yankees again 6-2. Behind Colin McHugh, who now has 14 wins.
14-7.
Good for Colin. That's great.
Good guy.
Such a nice kid. But who would have ever thought? No. Mets traded him to Colorado, got back Eric Young Jr. Rockies put him on waivers, and the Astros picked him up. And since August 1st last year, more wins than any pitcher in the American League. I think the Rockies could have used him.
Really?
I will say this for the Rockies last night. Chad Bettis came back off the disabled list, pitched very well. And they beat the Braves 5-1. So that's at least one piece for them. Colon looking for his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. 0-2 to Herrera. He slaps that one foul.
It's interesting. Usually Colon dominates these young lineups because he kind of expands the strike zone, but he hasn't had picture perfect control yet.
He's thrown 35 strikes and only 8 balls, but a lot of foul balls. On the inside corner, and he gets Herrera looking. That was pinpoint.
Yes.
Third strikeout for Colon. He has his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. After 3-0 New York. Jets and Giants camp, plus a preview of what to expect from John Deese tomorrow on Loudmouth. Tomorrow at 5:30, only on SNY. What do you expect from John Deese tomorrow?
Well, I think that, it's kind of an anomaly every time you pitch in Colorado. So you just throw it out. You don't even think about it. I think he's going to go return to the form he had before.
I know
his last start.
I know what John Neese thinks about his start in Colorado.
Yeah.
He got to win.
Exactly.
7 runs don't matter. Uribe lines out to Blanco for the first out in the 4th.
Well, it's nice to get those kind of victories once in a while. It doesn't happen very often.
So now Recker steps in. Well, Jared Eichhoff has had quite a change in fortune. His first 37 pitches, he recorded 1 out. His last 26 pitches, 9 outs.
That's great. Says a little bit about this kid's mental toughness.
Well, we talked about it during that first inning. There was really only 1 hard hit ball against him. That was Kadyr's double. 3 hits that found holes, a walk, and an error, and the Mets were able to produce 3 runs. Recker drives one to center field, chasing Herrera back. He got turned around, but he finds it, and he makes the catch. Herrera looks so awkward playing center field, but he was able to find that baseball after getting spun in a circle.
He's from the school of 3 circles and a dive center field play. It's interesting. Now, hard to make fun of a guy that was an infielder his entire life and thrown out to center field in the big leagues. And for the people that are watching him play every day, they said he's done a pretty good job, but it seems like every time we watch him, he struggles out there.
Colon with the bases loaded his first time up. It went over the bag at third, and Blanco made a nice play and got an out.
I don't think Bart swings here. 2 outs, nobody on, no RBI situation. Kind of just takes this, sits down.
That's exactly right. 3rd strikeout for Eichhoff. He's retired 11 in a row. 3-0 Mets in the 4th. We're celebrating 10 years of Mets baseball on SNY. After the break, we'll go back and relive another one of the thrilling moments from the past. July 7th, 2007. Brought to you by Pepsi. Got a big out there, a 1-2-3 13th, but a hit batsman, a sacrifice, a ground out, and a walk that put the Astros in position. Scott hits it deep to center field. Beltran going back, going up the hill. Beltran falling, and he made the catch. An unbelievable play by Carlos Beltran, going up Towles Hill, 425 feet away. Spectacular play by Carlos Beltran to keep the game tied. Luke hit it as far as he could, and Beltran going up the hill to make the play. Like Jack and Jill, it's Beltran to the rescue. Earlier today, fans were asked to tweet their memories to @SNYTV using hashtag SNY10years. Today's tweet from Coco Tennis. Best grabs in Mets history was right in the neighborhood.
Well, what a great call you made, Jack and Jill. I didn't hear that reference. I did not do that game, but I heard Keith in the background go, "Oh!"
I have a lot of memories of that game. It went 17, and the Mets wound up winning it. First of all, you saw who threw that pitch? Joe Smith.
I know.
And,
Joe was one of my favorite Mets. He was only here for a short time, but every time I go to Los Angeles and see him pitching for the Angels, it's always nice to say hello to him.
The other thing I remember about that game, because the Mets were on the road in a 17-inning game, Billy Wagner was the closer at the time. He got up to warm up 9 separate times.
Wow.
And then finally came in and got the save in the bottom of the 17th.
It's got to be up there with one of Beltran's greatest plays ever.
Well, I remember Keith said at the time, and he has said many times since, that it might have been the best catch he's ever seen. When you consider all the circumstances,
right.
It would have been a game-winning play had that ball fallen. Ryan Howard leads off the home 4th and takes the off-speed pitch from Colon.
Was that Luke Scott, the hitter?
Yep. So that's a catch that next year no one will be able to make.
They're taking the hill out.
They're taking down Tal's Hill.
Does Tal know?
I don't know. I assume he does. It's Tal Smith, after whom it is named. Conforto catches the pop-up for the first out.
I know Tal, and he's a great gentleman. But I know Tal because he was always in arbitration against me. So I knew him in a different way.
He was
always classy.
Teams hired him as a consultant for their arbitration case.
He was the guy that would stand in, and as you sat there, he would go over your career and how you weren't very special.
So let me ask you a question. Why would any player choose to attend his own arbitration hearing?
Because my agent, for some reason, thought it was a good idea. I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, there was no reason for me to be in there. I think that originally a lot of the agents thought that it was very important for the arbitrator to see the player, the human person, sitting in front of him when he was trying to make a decision on dollars.
Is there some thought on the part of the agent, as Andres Blanco takes it high, that if the player's sitting there that the team won't be as negative about him?
I think that's what they thought, but it really didn't work out that way.
Blanco drives one toward the right field corner, and that's off the wall. And Blanco cruises into second base with a one-out double. First extra base hit for the Phillies tonight after Colon had retired 6 in a row.
Well, Blanco keeps on hitting. Tried to go inside with the fastball and ended up down the middle. We've seen that a couple times from Colon against Phillies hitters. Right off Stroman. Big high leg kick. But a nice crisp solid swing there from Blanco.
Almost took the cake. So a runner in scoring position with one out. Here's Cody Ashe, who flied to left his first time up. 5 hits now for the Phillies. Colon was able to sidestep the first 4.
Well, the reason he hit that ball down the line, see where the contact is? It's in front of the plate. That's where you teach the hitters to swing or make contact on the pitch inside.
I remember earlier this year listening to Justin Turner talk about how Marlon Byrd had taught him to get the ball more out front, and that was the key to his surge in hitting.
Well, there's two things that happen. If you hit the ball out in front, you're going to make better contact. And second, it's at really the apex of your whip of the swing. So you're going to have the most bat speed meeting the baseball at that moment.
A swing and a miss for Colon. A rarity tonight, 1-1. Cameron Rupp, the on-deck batter. By the way, we're talking about Tal's Hill being taken out. I just read a story that there may be outfield alterations coming in Miami as well. Another park where they're going to have to move the fences in. Think about the number of parks where that's happened now. It happened in Detroit. It happened in San Diego. It's happened with Citi Field. And now Miami, where they built the ballpark for maybe a different era, and now they're having to move the fences in.
I think in the future, Frank Gehry or Richard Meyer, you have to go straight to those guys. Don't mess around with anyone else. Those guys are forward-thinking gentlemen. They'll be able to wrap their brain around the building.
I want to know, though, if they move the fences in Miami, what happens to the home run sculpture? Does it move with the fence, or does it stay put? That Red Groom's spectacular.
I know one thing, there'll be more room in the Clevelander.
That's an excellent point. Will the music be louder emanating from the Clevelander?
It'll be closer, right?
Well, Giancarlo Stanton doesn't need for the fences to be moved in Miami. Everybody else does, though.
Yes.
He hasn't seemed to have lost many home runs to the dimensions, only to injury.
It's interesting to watch Colon work. So you see the season series between the Phillies and the Mets. I mean, it's been quite some time since you've seen domination by the Mets over the Phillies.
Mets have beaten the Phillies 7 straight times, and dating back to last year, 22 of the last 27.
I got them 12-3 in the last 15 games here in Philly.
Wasn't always that way. Another long turn at bat for the Phillies against Cologne. 2-2 to Ashe. And he's hit by the pitch. So Cologne goes to a slider, hits Ashe in the leg. 4th batter he's hit this year, and the Phillies have 2 men on.
Well, from the Chase Utley school of hitting, just do not move. And that's what happened with Ashe. He just stayed there, planted that left knee, and took it right off the top of the knee.
Who wants to get hit in the knee? I can understand getting, hitting the thigh, but the knee, that hurts. So 2 aboard with 1 out. And now Cameron Rupp, who singled through the hole on the left his first time up.
I was noticing that Cologne, for some reason, working really slowly. Usually it's very quick, has a good tempo, like a metronome, over and over.
I wonder whether that has anything to do with his neck, which you've seen him manipulating a number of times tonight. But the other thing is, we mentioned him getting hit on the forearm in the last start, and I wonder as a pitcher, if you have a little knot on your forearm, if you have an ache there, how that affects you as a pitcher.
Well, it might not affect a guy who has to rely on velocity as much, but when you're talking about a forearm, you're talking about fine twitch muscles. So those are the muscles and finger pressure that a guy like Cologne uses to manipulate the baseball, to make it dart and sink and cut and slide.
So do you think there's a possibility that his slower tempo tonight is in deference to the fact that he's just trying to get the feel for it with each pitch?
I think get the feel for it, and I think also for some reason it seems like he's a little uncomfortable, so just taking his time. Maybe he just felt as though he was rushing in some other games, trying something a little different. Saw his numbers there, looking for his 215th big league win. Quite a number.
Blanco at second, Ashe at first, and 1 out. And Rupp takes on the outside corner. Good location by Cologne, 1-2.
Bruce Streckman wants to give him a big size plate. It's just that Cologne's got to get where he's repeating that pitch over and over. He'll get it from Streckman.
One-two to Rupp. And it's outside. There's great news for the Mets tonight on the rehab pitching front. Steven Matz tonight made his 3rd rehab start. This one was for Binghamton, and it could not have gone better. 6 innings, 56 pitches, no runs, 1 hit. Struck out 6, didn't walk anybody, and retired the last 16 batters. I guess he's okay.
Yeah. Those poor kids from Erie tonight.
2-2 coming. Off the corner. Full count to Rupp with Dominic Brown on deck.
The only problem with that is that 56 pitches. I think they wanted to try to get him to around 75 to build him up to 90 or so.
Yeah, I think they were going for 60 this time and then 80 the next time. But, his next start, whether it's in the minors or in the majors, could be September 1st or later.
Yeah.
And if it's September 1st or later, maybe you can have him at 75, 80 pitches and do that in the big leagues. Lifted to right, a long run for Granderson coming toward the line, and it goes out of play. You know what I'm saying? On September 1st, you'll have as many relief pitchers as you can stash in your bullpen. So even if Matz is only able to throw 75 or 80, would you be tempted to make his next start in the majors? Or do you think you have to stretch him out and get him in position to go 95 or 100 to bring him up?
I should be aware of this rule, but doesn't he have to be on the roster if you want him in the postseason by September 1st? No. Okay.
Anybody who's in the organization before September 1st is eligible for the postseason.
That's interesting. It used to be August 31st was the mark. I don't know how long ago that was.
They have to be in the organization.
Yeah.
In other words, if you're going to make a trade, bring somebody in from the outside, right. They have to be in the organization by midnight on the 31st.
Okay, good.
But anybody in the organization is eligible for postseason. 3-2 coming. That's driven to left center field, but Cespedes cutting over, and he gets there to make the grab. 2 out. Ball not hit as hard as I thought by Rupp.
Broke his bat. Just away enough and down, and hits that right off the end of his bat. But he's so strong, he's still got that all the way to center field.
So Colon trying to sidestep some more trouble. Now 2 out and 2 on. Dominic Brown hitting 8th in the order. Flight out to center field. The first pitch he saw from Colon his first time up. And the fastball catches the corner. 93 from Colon. It's as hard as he's thrown tonight. They're in the 5th inning now in D.C. Padres 5, Nationals 1. So another rough night for a Nats starter. This time Gio Gonzalez. Brown fouls it back and quickly 0-2.
Well, that really, to me, is, I think we're talking a lot about the Mets now because they're scoring a lot of runs and they're on a great roll. But don't overlook the fact that when they weren't scoring, the pitching was winning just enough games to keep them around 500. That was the key.
Well, there was a time, if you look back to June, their defense wasn't good, their offense wasn't good, but they were still winning enough to hang around. And that was all on the pitching. 0-2 coming. Foul back. I think things started to turn for this team when they made the defensive adjustment and put people in the right defensive spots on the infield. That helped. And then they went out and got offensive help, and that has turned everything around.
Well, I just think that the people that you see that aren't playing would play for a lot of teams that are now on the bench.
Terry said it last night. He's never had a better bench.
Yeah.
It means that he's got options every night, no matter who's in the lineup. Colon trying to put this inning to bed, ahead 0-2 on Brown. And that's just off the corner. Throwing hard here in this 4th inning. But it's building up his pitch count, 66 now. Mets need length out of Colon tonight. Terry Collins was hoping before the game that he might have Logan Verrett available. Remember, he started Sunday, went 8 innings. That he might have Sean Gilmartin available. Remember, he went 3 1/3 night before last. He definitely doesn't have Hansel Robles. He's worked 3 days in a row, so he's a little short. Follow the Mets wherever you are with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. 1-2 to Dominic Brown, and he struck him out with a fastball. Bartolo Colon with his 4th strikeout, and he strands 2 more Phillies. Who needs a cheesesteak when you got crab fries? Wow. series. Jonathan Neese against Aaron Harang. Harang is 5-14.
Yeah. Well, this would be a great chance for Jonathan to even his record. I mean, it's been a long way. Zeros put up so far by Cologne. Very nice.
Meanwhile, Jared Eichhoff's retired 11 in a row since his rough first inning. Third time around the batting order now. And Curtis Granderson, who's had 2 long at bats, he's seen 15 pitches in his first 2 at bats. Reached on there and scored, and then struck out in the second. And he drives this one to right field, but right at Dominic Brown, who comes over to get it. 1 away. So that's 12 in a row retired by Eichhoff. Now Yoenis Cespedes, who had an infield hit and scored in the first, and then hit a pop fly into shallow right that Ryan Howard ran a long way to grab. It was like he was running a 220.
In 220.
And Cespedes bailing out on the curveball, but it just missed. Ball 1.
It's a pretty good break ball. Could have called it a strike. Hasn't thrown many of them today.
'25-year-old Jared Eichhoff. Grew up in basketball country in Evansville, Indiana. Said he was a shooting guard in basketball growing up.
Oh, he's a big kid.
That's what he said. He said he had mismatches at shooting guard. That was his game. And Cespedes waving at the curveball. Rupp slaps a tag on him. That's the 4th strikeout for Eichhoff, and he's rolling now 13 in a row.
Well, another breaking ball, so 2 in this series against Cespedes. And that's now 1 for the Phillies and 1 for the Mets. No one really runs to first when the ball goes in the dirt anymore.
Supposed to.
No one does.
Here's Murphy, who drove in a run with a ground out in the first, then flied out in the second. Murphy on Monday night was one of 3 Mets who had 3 extra base hits in the game. The Mets had never had that before in their history. 3 players with 3 extra base hits in the same game. Dyer and Flores were the others. I still go back to that Monday night game and am befuddled by the Mets setting their team home run record, 8 home runs in a game, without their best 2 home run hitters. Granderson sat, Duda on the DL.
And the first 7 guys in the lineup had a home run,
which had never happened before in Major League history.
With Wilmer with 2.
Major League history.
What was it? 10 different guys
on both
in that
teams,
game?
right.
On both teams had home runs.
And that was a first also.
You've seen a lot of firsts this year.
The first time ever. I mean, Major League Baseball goes back to 1876. That's a long time for anything to have never happened.
That's right.
To me, the quirkiest thing that's happened this year was the San Diego thing with Noah Syndergaard and Andrew Cashman on back-to-back nights doing something that had never been done before. Well, next time look at it, Ryan. A look away grab, and he gets the 3 unassisted putout. And Eichhoff's retired 14 in a row. There's that little pearl. Halfway through, 3-0 Mets. play clock. Jared Eichhoff leads off the bottom of the 5th for the Phillies. Eichhoff took a call third strike his first time up. He has had a tremendous turnaround on the mound, but Bartolo Colon has been able to skate past trouble and keep the Phillies off the board. Ball and a strike to Eichhoff. Let's look at your Chrysler 5th inning recap. The Michael C is right in the middle of that 3-run first inning for the Mets, and Colon has done the rest. Tapper back to Bartolo, and that's the first out. Well, Colon has 10 wins this year. 9 of them came early in the season, and his season's best, well, that was on Cinco de Mayo against the Baltimore Orioles.
Well, when early in the season, when he was as good as anyone in the game, he just was hitting every corner. The ball was on the knees, hitting, fielding his position, doing a little bit of everything.
Love that. Scampering toward the line.
That's right.
That was his line that night. No walks, 9 strikeouts, 1 run in 7 2/3. Darnell Sweeney takes a strike. Sweeney 1 for 2, single to center in the first, grounded out in the third. Mets 3 runs, 4 hits. The Phillies no runs and 5 hits. Phillies have had 3 hits in the first inning against Colon, but maybe the biggest thing that happened tonight for Colon was a comeback or double play from Freddie Galvis, the second batter of the game. Otherwise, he might have had a difficult first, and who knows how the night would have gone. But Colon staying with the recent pattern. The last 8 starts now, it's been either very, very good or horrid. Horrid last time, very, very good tonight. On the inside corner, perfectly placed, 2-2 to Sweeney.
Really is an artist when he has it working. You know, I just think that at some point, Gary, he is 42 years old. You know, it's hard to keep it going for an extended period of time.
Well, that certainly begs the question about long-term, and I mean long-term in terms of the next 5.5 weeks and beyond for Bartolo. Especially with Matt's coming back, which he's going to either in 5 days or 10 days. You've got Logan for right now, who's shown that he can be an effective starter. At least he did at Coors Field in his first start. There's ball 4 to Sweeney. First walk of the night for Colon. So, you know, is Bart going to be in the rotation the rest of the season? I think most of us feel as though he probably, unless there are injuries between now and the end of the season, wouldn't be on a postseason roster.
Yeah, well, if this is a true meritocracy, like we're talking about with the everyday position players, who plays well, who gets hits, is going to play. It's the same thing for the pitchers, right? You have your young guys, well, they're going to definitely be in the rotation. But Colon is pitching to stay in there. He really is.
I mean, if you get to the postseason, and that's a long way away, there's still 36 games after tonight, and you know anything can happen. With Freddie Galvis, I mean, assuming that everybody's healthy, you've got Harvey, DeGrom, Syndergaard, Neese, and Matz. 4 of those guys are going to be starters in the postseason, and one of them is going to go to the bullpen. But could Colon have a role in the bullpen? Is that even feasible?
I don't think so. I don't think you can have him in the bullpen.
Slowly hit. Murphy hurries in, gets the force at second. Nicely played by Murph. Knew he had no chance for 2 and made sure he got the 1.
That was a nice play by Murphy. It would help there that Sweeney had to stop to let that ball go past him. With that great speed, he wouldn't have had to play at second if he didn't do that. Good read by Murph.
So talking about Colon.
Yeah, I just think that if you get to the postseason, Gary, sorry, kind of blitzed out there, is he really doesn't fit a role for you. You know, like there's no real long man that you have in the postseason, so he wouldn't play that role. You want your best guys going out there that have unhittable stuff.
So when we talk about the next 5.5 weeks, as Odubel Herrera steps in, 1 for 2 on the night. would it make it more likely to keep Bart in the rotation from now until the end of the season, which takes the innings pressure off some of the other guys? But does that partially depend on how big the Mets lead is between now and the end of September?
Exactly what it is. If they can remain and keep the lead where it is right now, he stays in the rotation. You use a sixth man. You don't have to worry about innings. And then you get everyone to the postseason ready to go. If that is your fate.
But if it gets crunchier, then maybe you shorten your rotation. I mean, as it is, I think the Mets plan for most of September to go with a six-man rotation. Keep the five that are in there now, add Matz, and you might even slip Red in there to allow Syndergaard to skip a start somewhere along the way.
Well, I think that it'll limit a little bit of DeGrom, so he'll be real strong. Harvey, you'll keep him under his pitch limits, innings limits. After an injury, Syndergaard will stay under his limits. Matz has already taken himself out of the pitch innings limits because of his injury. So good change up here by Colon.
Some good ones tonight.
Good change ups and a couple pretty good sliders.
Ryan Howard would be next. Colon would prefer to face Howard leading off the next inning.
That's a huge out here.
Yalvis at first and 2 out. 1-2, and Herrera just got a piece of that changeup to stay in the at bat.
A couple changeups away. Last time he struck him out on that fastball inside that he darted him on, so maybe we'll come back with that pitch here on the 1-2 count. Let's think along with Anthony Recker. Catchers always look at the hitters to make sure that they're not looking down. Once they see they're concentrating on the pitcher, that's when they deliver the signs. 3 changeups in a row.
Struck him out. Colon fans Herrera with that off-speed pitch. His 5th strikeout of the night. 5 scoreless for Bartolo tonight. Like the little girl with the curl. Course, no middleman required. That's how to eat ice cream. Sixth inning, Mets with a 3-0 lead. Michael Kadire leads off against Jared Eichhoff, who's retired 14 in a row. Now, who needs a spoon, right? Right to the source, no middleman required. That's the way to eat ice cream.
By the way, he's got all the ice cream either in his mouth or on his hands, none on his shirt.
Yet.
Most of the people I watch in the cafeteria where we eat with the media always have food on their shirt.
See, once he started using the spoon, then he got the ice cream on his shirt. I think you go right with the hand. No need to mess around. Cuddyer had an RBI double back in the first. He flied out in the third. Eichhoff's retired 14 in a row since a walk to Uribe in the first inning. And he comes up and into Cuddyer. 2-2.
Again, about the third or fourth pitch he's thrown up and in to the Mets hitters after the first inning.
Flores on deck, Conforto behind him. And Cuddyer trying to hold back on that curveball in the dirt, but he did not. Strike three. That's 5 strikeouts for Eichhoff, who's now retired 15 in a row.
So did you notice that sequence of pitches? A fastball up and in and a slider down and away. Missed badly by Cuddyer. I don't know if he swung or not, but home plate umpire Dreckman called him out.
Dreckman didn't ask for help.
No, he did not.
Nope, not too much of a complaint from Cuddyer. Here's Flores, who had a base hit back in the first, 1 for 2 tonight. And he takes a breaking ball for a strike. Let's play one more game here in Philadelphia tomorrow night. Then they head home, play the Red Sox over the weekend. It'll be the Red Sox first ever regular season visit to Citi Field, and huge crowds are expected for all 3 games. And so we advise everybody out there who's coming to the game, including you, Keith, mass transit, the preferred mode of transportation.
Leave a little early in case you get the flat tire.
On the way 2-2. Did you see Keith on the 7 train? Just once.
No. But I think he did. I think he said he took the 7 train occasionally in '83 when he first came over.
Before he was Keith Hernandez.
Exactly. After that, impossible.
Since Seinfeld? Never.
Never. It's Keith Hernandez.
Exactly. Flores lifts one to shallow right. And Brown comes in to call. 2 out. So Eichhoff keeps rolling, 16 in a row. 2 out and nobody on. Michael Conforto coming up, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Well, Gary, Tom Goodwin, he works with the outfielders here. We all know that. And, you know, Michael Conforto, just like us, he heard all those reports about Conforto being a fringe defender in left field. Just like us, he's been extremely pleasantly surprised with what he's seen. He said the guy's been so good in left field that he really hasn't had to work with him on much of anything. He treats him basically like any other outfielder out here. Says he really likes his arm. That's a lot better than he thought it was going to be. The one aspect that Tom Goodwin is keeping in mind defensively with Conforto is he laces this one into the gap. That's going to go for extra bases. Conforto motors on in with a double. But he said the one thing to keep an eye on defensively for Conforto is that he really wants to get to every single ball, and sometimes he gets a little too overzealous. We saw it last night in the bottom of the 4th inning on the Dominic Brown single, where he kind of got in between, fell to his knees, and was able to prevent it from going to the wall. But Conforto, right now, it hasn't bitten him yet, but it could, and that's something Tom Goodwin wants to watch for.
Well, I've been, you know, he's not fast, but he's quick. That serves him well in the outfield. His arm is good, like Tommy Goodwin said. I've been not pleasantly surprised because I hadn't seen him play enough. I only saw him in spring training. But really, he's here to do what he just did, and that is to hit rockets.
And he's got 2 of the Mets' 5 hits tonight, and he just snapped Eichhoff's string of retiring 16 in a row. And he's in scoring position for Uribe, who's walked and lined out to third, 0 for 1 tonight. And Uribe hits one into center for a base hit. Here comes Conforto around third. Herrera's throw to the plate will not be in time. Conforto scores, and it's 4-0 New York. Juan Uribe with a 2-out RBI, and the Mets stretch their lead to 4.
Well, these are the kind of hits that break an opposition and the pitcher's back. These 2 outs, looks like you're going to have an easy inning. Conforto with a bullet, and Uribe with a base hit up the middle. 2-out RBIs. Conforto off second base. Didn't get that great of a secondary leader jump from second. That made this play a little closer.
Did he touch home plate?
Yeah, with his hand when he went by it.
It was Anthony Recker who struck out and flied out. You know, I think we see this often, right? You get a pitcher who has a long string of batters retired. Here's Conforto going in. Yeah, I guess he scraped the plate. Eichhoff hadn't pitched in the stretch for 5 innings. And then you see him make a mistake and give up a big hit. And I think that happens a lot, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I think when you have not pitched in the stretch in a while, you have to remind yourself to stay back, because a lot of times you'll rush with your body because you don't have the full motion, and your arm will lag. When your arm lags, the ball's up. When the ball's up, you give up base hits. I always had to remind myself in the stretch to shorten my stride, because in the stretch it's just natural, because you don't have all the natural motion of the windup, that you try to throw a little harder, and sometimes your stride will lengthen out. I'd always have to remind myself to keep it a little shorter. That way I'd get on top.
Eichhoff up to 95 pitches now, and the Phillies start to get their bullpen cranking. 1-2 to Recker with 2 out. And the breaking ball fouled off. Second big league start for Jared Eichhoff. Mets trying to go to 17-4 this year when facing a rookie starting pitcher. Jeanmar Gomez, who had a rough outing in last night's game, is up for the Phillies. Bullpen, a huge concern for this Phillies team all year long. They're fine at the end of the game with Ken Giles, but getting there, it's been a mess. And the curveball gets Recker looking. That should be strike 3, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
that was strike 3.
Exactly.
Nobody wanted to leave the field.
Well, except the pitcher knew it.
That was bizarre. Almost had another ball 5. 4-0 Mets. A full day off for David. He did extensive work at third base today, fielding some balls as close to game speed as they could make them for him.
Well, the coaches use a fungo, and it's really hard to hit the ball, certainly as hard as the players hit it, but he worked really hard before the game just with Tim Tuffle to get his footwork down But really, the only way to get it, Gary, is to play.
Yep.
It's the only way.
Ryan Howard leading off the bottom of the 6th. Cologne now with a 4-0 lead. Howard's 1 for 2 tonight. Single to center, fly to left. That's overlap Uribe to the right side against Howard, who takes below the knees, 2-0. Rare time Cologne's been behind on the count tonight. You see the triangle defense with Murphy out in shallow right. Howard lifts one to left. Conforto ranging back and has room in front of the warning track to make the catch. 1 away. Well, after David Wright did that defensive drill today, he was asked about getting himself acclimated to the speed of the game.
It's just kind of slowing everything down. I think when you get back, you're very anxious and you're very excited, and I think that sometimes that kind of works against you, where you're not just kind of taking a deep breath, relaxing, and kind of letting the ball come to you. You're trying to go get everything. You're trying to be maybe a little too aggressive on some things, but I felt a little more comfortable out there last night. So hopefully we start seeing some better results and get back to the defense I know I'm capable of playing.
David made 2 errors his first game Monday. Had a play where he didn't quite handle it perfectly last night on a ball that he charged.
He'll get there. He's too good. He just needs to be out in that field. He's going to play, I think, the next 3 days?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, have Sunday off. So that'll be playing 2 days rest, playing 3 days rest.
And then he can play the 3 against the Phillies at home. Then the Mets have Thursday off.
Okay.
Play 2 in Miami, have Sunday off, and then play the 3 in Washington.
Okay.
That's the game plan right now. It's certainly subject to change. Based on how David's feeling and some pitching matchups, those things can be worked around. But that's the game plan, to try and get him back up to full speed. Blanco fouls one back, 2-2. The Mets are scheduled to face 2 lefties in the series against the Red Sox. Young Henry Owens goes Friday night, and the veteran Wade Miley on Sunday. We'll see the right-hander Joe Kelly on Saturday.
It seems like they went forever without facing left-handed pitching, and now it's coming in droves.
Which actually works out well, because they've got basically platoons at 4 positions now, and enables everybody to get into the lineup. 2-2 coming to Blanco, and that skips away. Road Ahead brought to you by your Tri-State Buick dealer. One more game in Philly, the 3 against the Red Sox over the weekend. Then Phillies for 3 more at Citi Field before the Mets start a long road trip that goes to Miami, Washington, and Atlanta. Their second to last road trip of the season. Full count to Blanco. Loans walked only 1 tonight. And now 2 as that just missed Blanco. So the Phillies have a 1-out base run. Long came into the day with the best control of any pitcher in the National League, just 1.1 walks per 9 innings. There you see it, just ahead of Max Scherzer. Scherzer's actually thrown a higher percentage of strikes than Cologne. They're 1-2 in the league. Scherzer first, Cologne second, but Cologne's issued fewer walks. I told you last night the Nats have rejiggered their rotation to make sure Scherzer faces the Mets in the series in D.C. Ashe nubs one down to Uribe, and he slings it to first to get him 2 out. And Blanco goes to second. So Scherzer is now scheduled to face the Mets in that first game of the series, the Labor Day afternoon game in D.C.
In D.C. Afternoon game when he faced them on opening day, right? In D.C. But he pitched a pretty good ball game, a couple errors by his infield.
Ian Desmond kind of submarined him in that game. By the way, it's kind of gone unnoticed how well Ian Desmond has played lately, offensively and defensively.
After his discussion with Cal Ripken Jr., it changed it all around for him.
And remember, he's a free agent at the end of the year, so that's important. for him personally. Here's Cameron Rupp with a runner at second and 2 out. And it's popped up foul. That'll come back out of play. Dominic Brown would be next. But Colon trying to put a capper on this 6th inning. He's at 94 pitches on the night. Oh, remember we said the Mets needed length out of Colon tonight. And I wonder if he gets a quick out here, would they try and push him through 7?
I think that when you have a 42-year-old pitcher, it's on the last year of his contract, you push him as far as you can go. That's personally what I would do.
Right back to Colon. That makes it easier. 95 pitches through 6, and 6 zeros to go with it. That's with a 4-0 lead. That's where the train comes in. 30th Street Station. Fuller partial ticket plan today and guarantee yourself access to Mets 2015 postseason tickets. Purchase tickets online at Mets.com/deposits. Your People's United Bank starters tonight. Bartolo Colon, the A Colon, 6 scoreless innings. Jared Eichhoff at one point retired 16 in a row, but gave up 4 runs, 3 earned in his 6 innings of work, and now he's done. And Jean-Marc Gomez will pitch the 7th.
I do have to say that was pretty much of a success for Eichhoff after that first inning. Could have started a lot differently if the center fielder had caught the first fly ball to him.
Colon leading off in the 7th, runs 6 feet out of the batter's box after grounding out. I think that's a new record for Colon for shortest distance run to first base. But that's okay because the Mets wanted to save up for the bottom of the 7th.
That would have been the fastest time ever down to first if he'd completed it, but no.
Let's see how far he actually went. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pirouette.
It's always something. Love it.
Said it earlier this season. He is an event. Here's Granderson 0 for 3 tonight. Gomez had a disastrous outing yesterday. He came into the 6th inning behind Jerome Williams. First batter, Wilmer Flores, had a line drive that was caught. Then a walk to Conforto, a bases loaded walk to d'Arnaud, and then the 2-run hit by Kadire that put the Mets in front. Granderson takes one the other way, but right at Ashe, who goes back to get it. 2 out.
So Gomez inherited a couple of runners. They both scored yesterday.
And that cost Williams a loss.
They pitched better than that.
Now Cespedes is 1 for 3. Had an infield hit and scored in the first. And the Mets, who had scored 55 runs in their last 5 games. Just 4 runs and 6 hits tonight. But so far plenty the way Colon has gone about it. And Cespedes with a big swing. Flies one to shallow right. Dominic Brown in to get it. And a 5-pitch inning for Gomez as he sets the Mets down 1-2-3. Stretch time. 4-0 Mets. In the 3rd inning off Gio Gonzalez. That's been enough so far. They lead the Nats 5-2 in the 7th. Pirates put up a 6th spot in the 2nd against Chris Narveson. Another big night for McCutchen. And the Pirates up in the 7th. And the Dodgers out to a big early lead against the hapless Reds. Dominic Brown leads off in the home 7th against Bartolo Colon. Never know what you're going to get in this game, right?
That's right.
Colon, who's been beat up every other start, is right on cue with a fine outing tonight.
And the Phillies start their young prospect. They just got in a trade from Cole Hamels, and the Mets start their 42-year-old, and he's got 6 shutout innings.
Darren Ruff, who was the party of the other part in last night's dust-up, is on deck.
He was the one that was in the box when Hansel Robles with the quick pitch and never really looked up until too late.
By the way, and I don't think we've talked about this in reference to what happened last night, and frankly I didn't read about it in any of the New York game stories today, but those in the Philadelphia clubhouse who cover that team every day said that the Phillies were angry that Robles had quick pitched Cameron Rupp in a similar fashion the night before.
Yeah.
And that was part of why they got so upset last night.
Well, he pitched quick pitch Rupp, and if you remember last night's game, he quick pitched Freddie Galvis also and struck him out. And Larry Bowa doesn't miss anything. Got hot.
But again, it's not the quick pitch in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because as Jeff Francoeur said last night, as Brown strikes out on the high fastball, 6 strikeouts now. They weren't concerned about Familia quick pitching. It was this with his head down that they were concerned
This is
about.
the issue, is that, you know, if you throw a pitch when a guy's not looking, what happens if you miss and it's at his face? You could kill someone.
And Bo obviously got incensed and got himself ejected. The voice of reason after the game was Travis d'Arnaud, which may or may not have been a great thing to say because it kind of threw his teammate under the bus. But he basically said that he was trying to stop Robles from throwing the pitch.
Well, it was honest. I think that honesty works on that occasion. A lot of times you end up trying to protect your player when he's done something wrong. Just be honest about it. Not a big deal.
By the way, you know who Terry Collins got a call from today after all this? LaTroy Hawkins.
Oh, he did.
Because he's the progenitor of all this stuff.
That's right.
It was LaTroy who taught all those med relievers how to quick pitch. And Familia does it wonderfully to great effect. And Rupp is down on 3 pitches, and Colon has back-to-back strikeouts to start the 7th. That's 7 punch-outs now for Colon.
And both on high fastballs, just right by these Phillies hitters.
A lot of movement on that 2-seamer. So 2 out and nobody on. Well, we showed Colon's season's best earlier. He might have a new season's best.
That's right.
Eric O'Flaherty is up, but Colon given signs of not needing help here in the 7th as he faces Darnell Sweeney, who singled and walked tonight, 1 for 2. Just the 2nd big league start for Sweeney. Colon has allowed 5 hits tonight, but none since Blanco doubled in the 4th. There's a strike, 0-2.
I guess I should try to explain what I was talking about with Colon being 42. It's kind of counterintuitive. What I mean is that he's one of the few pitchers there are no innings limit. Let him go as long as he can go. Every time out.
Right. And I think that's the only limit, how far he can go when he says he's done. Strike 3 called. Bartolo Colon strikes out the side of the 7th inning. An extraordinary night for Big Bart. 8 strikeouts through 7 scoreless innings. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Tri-Honda. Hurry to your local Tri-Honda dealer for great deals on the 2015 models. By State Farm. Today's State Farm agent of the game is Pat Cauley of Glendale. Contact Pat at patcauley.com. And by Verizon. Don't miss a moment of Mets baseball on the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network only from Verizon.
It's weak. It's weak of Cawley taking me and Keith out of the picture, by the way. I mean,
gonna have to give him a call.
Exactly.
Hector Neris will pitch the 8th inning for the Phillies. Bartolo Colon getting the major fist bump from Terry Collins after 7 tremendous innings. Terry needed innings badly. Colon knew it and gave the Mets exactly what they needed.
But all these things have happened, Gary. Sunday, you take Harvey out of the rotation. Verrett goes and pitches 8 innings, only gives up a run. DeGrom struggles. Gil Martin comes in and does his job, pitches over 3 innings. Tonight, you needed extended work from Bartolo. He just ends his outing with 3 punch-outs. I mean,
tremendous.
Yeah.
Just tremendous. 2-2 to Murphy. Facing Neris, who had a very rough go of it on Monday night. Worked an inning in the 3rd, gave up home runs to Flores and Kadire, giving up 4 runs overall. So the Mets get directly from Colon to Tyler Clipper, who's up in the bullpen now for the Mets. In the upper bullpen. You know, when they first built this ballpark, that was supposed to be the Phillies bullpen.
Yeah.
At the time Billy Wagner was closing for the Phillies, they came here for an exhibition game, saw how close the fans were above that upper bullpen, and Billy said,
yeah, you can't do that.
This isn't going to work. We're taking the lower bullpen.
Well, the reason he did that is because when things are going fine, it's great to have that upper bullpen. You got a better view. But when things aren't going as well, the fan base is going to let you know about it.
This is Philadelphia, folks. You don't mess around with that stuff. Murphy finds the hole, and he's got himself a base hit. So Murph with his first hit of the night, and hit number 7 for New York. And the Mets have a leadoff base runner in the 8th.
Sinking fastball away. Good pitch by Neris. Just better hitting by Murphy. You know, it's almost like he just keeps his head right on that ball until he makes contact and follows that ball with his eyes.
Now Kadire is 1 for 3, an RBI double back in the 1st. So back in 2004, when they switched the bullpens, initially they didn't switch the telephones, and so Larry Boa, who was the manager of the Phillies at the time, called down to the bullpen. He got the wrong bullpen.
The opposition. That's funny.
Can you imagine? It depends on who the bullpen coach is for the other team. That they could really mess with you, right?
Yeah, you could get somebody up for the other team, take them out of the game.
Three 3-0 now to Kadire. So Neris.
In this wireless age, it's still funny that they have bullpen phones.
Eric O'Flaherty up alongside Clippard in the Mets bullpen. Well, you saw the trouble that Joe Madden almost got into last week.
Yeah.
That's hit in the air to deep left field, right down the line. That ball is out of here. Michael Kadire into the second deck with a 2-run homer. Number 10 for Kadire, his second in the series. And the Mets busted open. It's 6-0 New York. Michael Kadire has come alive on this road trip, giving the Mets what they were waiting for all year long.
It's almost like that DL stint, Gary. He gave him a chance to sit back and kind of wrap his brain around this year, which hasn't been a good year, and almost said, you know what, let's start over. And he started over with a bang.
Nothing wakes Kadire up more than playing the Phillies. Now 6 for 9 in this series with 3 doubles and 2 home runs. And that time got a 3-0 cookie and made no mistake. What a series.
Well, it's good to see Cuddyer smiling. If he's smiling, it's because he's hitting.
That's hooked toward the hole, and Flores has a base hit. So Flores has his second hit of the night. And the Mets continue to thrive against the Philadelphia bullpen.
Well, I found it interesting earlier as you see this split finger, middle of the plate, off balance, but still Flores able to get the good part of the bat on the ball. You said earlier Mets have only scored 4 runs today. Remember, there was a time when you would have taken 4 runs. Now up to 6.
Well, the Mets have that remarkable record when they score 4 runs or more, but who's even paying attention anymore? Now they're scoring 6, 8, 10 a night. Michael Conforto, 2 for 3 tonight, a single and a double. He's driven in a run. He's scored a run. Still nobody out in the inning. Howard now playing behind Flores at first. And Conforto pops one up. A long run. Blanco is the closest. And as he falls down, he stays with it and makes the grab. Nice persistence by Andres Blanco for the first down.
Well, good play by Howard earlier on a pop-up, and a nice play by Blanco as the wind really moved this ball back into almost being a fair ball. I thought Galvis was going to take it. He had a little better angle, but he never called him off.
Usually that's going to be the shortstop's ball if he can get there. So 1 out and 1 on. Now Uribe, who has swung the bat very well tonight. He had a walk in the first, lined out in the fourth, and then hit a base hit to center to drive in a run in the 6th. Uribe has not had a lot of hits as a Met, but it seems everyone he gets is productive. He's only had 15 hits and he's driven in 12 runs.
But he's had a lot of extra base hits also.
Right. 9 of his last 12 hits have been for extra bases. Mets got Uribe in late July. They still had no idea when or if they were going to get David Wright back. Now that David is back, Uribe provides a terrific insurance policy, backup, pinch hitter, clubhouse leader, and he's perfectly okay with the whole deal.
Yeah, he is. He just wants to be on a winning team. That's what he's always been about.
And that seems to be the prevailing attitude around here right now. You know, they say winning breeds chemistry rather than the other way around, but right now you don't see too many Mets who are concerned about their individual numbers and how many at bats they're getting.
You know, Gary, when you have older players on the bench, all they think about is winning, because they know that they're in the fall of their careers. So all they really want to do is have one more shot to play in a World Series, maybe win a ring. That's their sole purpose.
And Uribe has won a couple of those rings in 2005 and in 2010, is due for another one.
And when you have younger players on the bench, they're nervous. They're trying to get their hits. You know, they haven't done that role a lot in their career. So there's Ruben Tejada, night off.
Your T-Mobile Data Strong fan of the game photo, and it comes from Paul Canfield. The glove may be a little bigger than he is.
That's right.
But there's the next David Wright, getting himself prepped. Love the wristband.
I know. Styling.
Hector Neris has faced 5 batters, retired only 1 of them.
We've seen a lot of Bob McClure in this series. The That's not a good thing.
Just as we saw plenty of Steve Foster in Colorado.
Yeah, we did.
McClure, though, doesn't have nearly the songwriting chops. Wrecker 0 for 3 tonight, struck out twice and flied out. Kelly Johnson's come out on deck to bat for Bartolo Colon. Done after 7 tremendous innings tonight. Mets tonight with runners in scoring position, 5 hits and 8 at bats. We lost track of their numbers in Colorado. They had so many hits with runners in scoring position.
19 or something during that series.
What craziness that was. And then we come here in the first night. Records fall.
I mean, Keith has to go on the Colorado trip. There's too much offense not to bring him.
Double play ball if they hurry. Galvis to Sweeney and on to first for the 6-4-3 double play. That ends the inning. But the Mets add a pair on one big swing by Michael Cuddyer. 3-0. Green light. Gone. Second deck for Cuddyer. Second home run in the series. 6-0 Mets going to the bottom of the 8th. It might have had more, but the Phillies turning a pretty double play.
Well, Galvis with a good toss. And watch Sweeney stay in there and take the tough slide from Uribe and deliver a strike to Howard. That's a nice quick turn. You like to see that from your young players that you just acquired for your former second baseman, Chase Utley.
Changes for the Mets. Yoenis Cespedes moves from center field to left field. Juan Lagares comes in to play center. He'll bat ninth. And Eric O'Flaherty will pitch the 8th inning for the Mets.
Well, he's pitched in both games this series with mixed results. Gave up a run in yesterday's game. He had a scoreless inning in the first game, but still gave up some hard hit balls.
Still a work in progress, especially against the right-hand batters. Freddie Galvis will face him. And the fastball on the outside corner, 0-1. Galvis 0 for 3 tonight. Batting right-handed for the first time tonight, hitting much better this year as a right-hand batter. .333 from this side of the plate.
Well, I think his foot is officially out of the batter's box, the left one now.
You mentioned that he moves that foot further out as a right-hand batter than as a left-hand batter.
There it goes.
Nice shot of the Liberty Bell on his socks,
yeah,
by the way.
Awesome.
O'Flaherty misses with a sinker, 2-1.
There it is. That's nice.
In Washington, Justin Upton hit his second home run of the night, but the Nats have a run home in the bottom of the 7th, and they have the bases loaded and 1 out. Padres 6, Nats 3.
That's Upton's 22nd via 2.
21 and 22
wow.
tonight.
He's making a little free agent push himself. You were talking about Desmond before.
Galvis lifts one along the right field line. Over comes Granderson. And he gets there inside the line for the first out. Well, that's a big notch for O'Flaherty, getting a right-hand hitter out.
That was interesting because I've been watching, of course, since he's been brought over. You asked me on the first night, what have I seen? He did not have a sinking fastball. That's what he had in Atlanta that he used against right-handed hitters. Watch this ball. Oh, that's more the cutter there. So maybe working on a little cutter away, but if he can get the sink back, that'll be the key for him getting right-handers out.
He and Dan Warthen have been doing extensive side work, working on his changeup, working on his sinker, just trying to refine the tools that made him such an effective relief pitcher when he was in Atlanta. Here's Odubel Herrera, and he takes a fastball for a strike.
Well, you know, it won't take much because you know he's got the guts to pitch late in games. He had to do that in Atlanta in some championship seasons. So he's got that. He's just got to get his pitches on the knees. Can't live around the belt.
Herrera slashes one foul. Sunday, an all-new Mets insider. A pennant race is underway from all the highs and lows to the wild week leading up to the trade deadline. Take a look back at the Mets season that earned them a spot in the playoff chase on Mets Insider, presented by WB Mason, Sunday at 4:30, only on SNY. O'Flaherty ahead 0-2, and Herrera just got a piece of that breaking ball. Well, a late arrival, the Verizon trivia question tonight. The only Mets midseason acquisition to hit 30 or more home runs in that season. Something that Cespedes has a chance to do this year.
Wow.
He's got 25 now. So a midseason acquisition who finished the year with 30. I mean,
I think of the catcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the first place I would think, because Don Clendenin didn't, and Keith didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry, Keith.
No.
Other great qualities.
We're lucky Keith stayed around. I mean,
foul back. Ryan Howard waiting on deck. Herrera taking considerable time digging into the batter's box. Used to be the pitchers would get very upset with hitters who dug a big hole in the batter's box. Those days have long since gone by. Toward the hole and just under a skidding Kadire for a base hit. So Herrera has his second hit of the night.
tough play there, just perfectly placed by Herrera. Only the 11th start for Kadire at first base.
So now it's Howard, who's 1 for 3 tonight, single to center and twice fly to left. So this is the guy O'Flaherty is here to get out. And he's done that very successfully in his career. Howard is 2 for 20 in his career against Eric O'Flaherty.
Well, you want to look at these at bats because it's not only Ryan Howard but other left-handed hitters that you have to make a judgment on whether O'Flaherty can do that job for you.
Well, it's going to mean Freddie Freeman in Atlanta. It's going to mean David Ortiz over the weekend.
Mr. Harper.
Right.
Bryce Harper. So.
By the way, it's going to be interesting to see how much David Ortiz plays this weekend. Normally a DH. Travis Shaw, the rookie, has been playing great at first base for the Red Sox. The report I saw today is that they plan to start Ortiz 2 of the 3 games at first base, which would be strange to me, especially considering where the Red Sox season is right now.
Yeah, you think to yourself that maybe they'd like to see the youngster out there a little more, and that Ortiz, they're not in a race. So
the other thing that it looks like the Red Sox are planning on for next year is to have Hanley Ramirez play first base, because left field has been such a disaster for him. That's drilled down the right field line, a base hit for Howard. Herrera on his way to third as Granderson gets to it. And Howard will stop at first. So the two left-hand hitters both with base hits against O'Flaherty. That one well struck. And it's first and third and 1 out.
So it continues the struggles of O'Flaherty. You said the number, 2 for 20, but a good swing there by Howard. You know, he's trying to get that ball away. See where Recker's sitting? He wants that ball down and away. That ball's middle. And you see the reaction from O'Flaherty. It's almost like he knows what he's supposed to do, but he can't do it.
Well, O'Flaherty will get apparently one more batter, because Andres Blanco, a switch hitter, is up. Then you got the left-hand hitter Cody Ashe on deck. Carlos Torres looks like he's ready in the bullpen if needed. First and third and 1 out. Blanco tonight, a double and a walk. He's now hit in 9 straight games. And he, like Yalvis, much more effective as a right-hand batter. Blanco's hitting .400 from the right side this year.
Yeah, you would think that after this hitter, probably Jeff Francoeur, you should see Washington coming north towards San Diego.
3 runs home in that bottom of the 7th, and that inning now over. 6-5 Padres going to the 8th. Ashe on deck. You know, Flaherty hoping to get the ground ball from Blanco, but now he's behind him 2-0. And he gets a borderline strike call, 2-1. Bartolo Colon threw 107 pitches in 7 innings, no runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, a hit batsman. Exactly what the Mets needed with their bullpen having been stretched over the last few days. There's a good pitch away from O'Flaherty, 2-2.
Big swing here from Blanco. Let's see where that ball is. It's up. It's just not where O'Flaherty needs to be. He knows it.
Slowly hit. A run will score. Uribe gets the out at first. As Herrera comes home with the first Phillies run of the night, it's now 6-1. And the Philly fans are beside themselves with joy. Do I sense a little sarcasm in that cheer?
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, Uribe can still get it done, can he? I mean, 36 years old, comes in, and still able to make the play at first base. It was not an easy play. 36 or 26, doesn't matter.
Well, 42 got it done tonight. Why not 36? Here's Ashe, who's 0 for 2 and been hit by a pitch.
It's almost like you throw off the opposite leg because you're fielding it on that side. Just trying to get rid of it as quick as you can.
Again, O'Flaherty falls behind 2-0. This will probably be his last batter. You got Cameron Rupp, right-hand hitter, on deck, and Torres ready to go. Terry would love to finish this game without having to use Clippard or Familia tonight. He can use them if he has to, but he'd love to have them fresh for tomorrow night after Familia went a little extra last night and got 4 outs, and Clippard threw 23 pitches. Clippard up now alongside Torres in case things get dicey. And there's ball 4, and so O'Flaherty continues to struggle getting the left-hand hitters out. Tomorrow night, the final game of the series. Mets will have Jonathan Neese on the mound against Aaron Harang. Our coverage begins at 6 tomorrow on SNY. So now with 2 men on and a run home here in the 8th, Terry Collins makes his way out to the mound. And the Mets will make a pitching change here in the 8th. Torres coming in. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Steven Matz took the mound for his 3rd rehab start, and things could not have gone much better for number one. Number one?
That's funny. How about the gauntlet of fans he had to run through before he took the mound?
6 scoreless innings for Matz tonight, 1 hit, 56 pitches, retired the last 16. Looks like he is ready to go, coming back from the partially torn lat muscle. Carlos Torres picks up here in the 8th with 2 out and 2 on, a run home for the Phillies. And Cameron Rupp the batter, and he takes a strike. Meanwhile, in Detroit tonight, big doings. Justin Verlander, a no-hitter through 8 innings against the Angels.
Wow.
He's at 100 pitches, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts.
He might be back.
What, his 3rd career no-hitter?
3rd, I believe, and he might be back. His pitching of late has been back to Verlander's standards.
Problem for the Tigers is maybe a little too late.
Yeah.
They're 5.5 out in the wild card with many teams in front of them. Rupp is 1 for 3 tonight, and the good breaking ball by Torres makes it 0-2.
That was sharp by Torres. That was 2014 sharp.
Dominic Brown would be next. Howard at second, Ashe at first with 2 down. Oh, 2 from Torres, and he fires outside. Carlos finished up the game on Monday night, worked a hitless 9th inning. Might be asked to finish this game as well. One-two to Rupp, and the curveball bounces in to Recker, who knocks it down. 2-2. Padres didn't score in the top of the 8th, so it's still 6-5 San Diego going to the bottom of the 8th in D.C. Joaquin Benoit on to pitch for San Diego. Trying to set it up for Craig Kimbrell. 2 on, 2 out, 2-2 to Rupp. And the curveball drilled into left center for a base hit. That'll go all the way to the wall. Howard will score. Ashe is right behind him. A 2-run double for Cameron Rupp, and all of a sudden it's a 6-3 Met lead. 3 runs home for the Phillies in the bottom of the 8th. And Terry might need his big guys after all.
Well, a good breaking ball, a sharp one early on, and just a hanger right there. And Rupp jumped all over it. Good job by Cody Ashe. On the fly and scores pretty easily the 3rd run.
Well, that's the only batter Carlos Torres is going to face. Tyler Clippard will come in and try and get the final out here in the bottom of the 8th. Call to the bullpen brought to you by River Spring. It's now 6-3 Mets. Hang on.
Dominic Brown last night's ball game with a 3-2 changeup. He has to do it again.
And he'll come in here to face Brown with 2 on the runner at second. 3 runs home for the Phillies, all charged to Eric O'Flaherty. Carlos Torres gave up the 2-run double to Rump, and now Flipper tries to clean up the mess. And it's up and away, ball 1. Jeff Francoeur out on deck to pinch hit if Brown can keep the inning going. Phillies with 3 runs on 3 hits and a walk here in the 8th. There's Frenchie on deck. Well, his only appearance last night was enraged. And a knee-high strike with a fastball, 1-1.
That's what I always find interesting between these confrontations between relievers and hitters is from day to day, do you change your approach on trying to get a hitter out, keep them guessing?
Brown is 2 for 9 against Clippard with a home run, including that strikeout last night. 3 fastballs in a row, and Clippard's ahead 1-2. Well, he's got him set up for the changeup.
Well, he's got a couple things he can do. One, we've seen Brown strike out a few times against the Mets in this 3-game series, although he's been very hot in this series, on fastballs up out of the strike zone. So he can do that, or he can drop that changeup in the dirt.
Brown has already struck out twice tonight.
Hits that one sharply off the mound, knocked down by Flores, and his throw will be well too late. That ball took an offbeat bounce coming off the back of the mound, and the Phillies will thus get the tying run to the plate.
That ball looked like it caught the hand of Wilmer Flores. Right off the mound, in between hop, catches him on that right hand. Should not have thrown that baseball.
It's going to be an error charge to Flores. Not an easy play by any means, but an E6 that prolongs the inning. And you're right, it got his meat hand.
Yeah.
So now Francoeur comes to the plate. Phillies trailed 6-0 when this inning began. Now they got the tying run at bat. Francoeur having a resurgent year, especially since the All-Star break. 0 for 2 in this series. And he takes the breaking ball out of the strike zone from Clippard for ball 1.
No, nothing against this play against Wilmer. It took a tough hop. I don't know if anyone could have made that play. But Terry Collins made a decision to change his outfield defense. Could have made a decision to change his infield defense also late in the game.
So Francoeur's pinch hitting numbers, but he's 0 for 8 in his career against Clippard.
Off speed, laced into center field. That's a base hit. That'll bring home Rupp with the 4th run of the inning. Francoeur with an RBI single, and now it's 6-4, and the Phillies have the tying runs on base.
Well, just off the end of the bat from Frenchie, but good at bat. He talked about it. He was 0 for 8, now 1 for 9. Changeup ahead of it, but strong enough to get that into center field.
Now Darnell Sweeney will be the 9th man up in the inning. 4 runs are home. A 6-0 Met lead is now a nail-biting 6-4. And the changeup misses. Ball 1 to Sweeney. Sweeney's 1 for 3 and a walk tonight. And Jeurys Familia, who got a 4-out save last night, quickly on call in the 8th inning again. It's the last thing Terry Collins wanted to do tonight. There's a good changeup. Had Sweeney way out in front, 1-1.
Terry hasn't wanted to do it, Gary. When you're mentioning Familia, good change up here, but it's almost to me like he's managing these like game 7s. You know, to get the figure out how to get the win tonight, worry about tomorrow.
Well, when you have a 6-0 lead going to the bottom of the 8th, you figure you're home free.
Yeah.
Not the case. Good fastball blown right past Sweeney, 1-2.
got to come back with that pitch very late on the high fastball with Sweeney.
Brown at second. Francoeur the tying run at first with 2 down. 1-2 coming to Sweeney. Struck him out. Lippert avoids further damage with a king-sized out as he fans Sweeney. The Phillies score 4, but no more. 6-4 Mets going to the ninth. All right, gentlemen, we go to the ninth. Juan Lagares leads off against the new Philly pitcher, Elvis Araujo. Lagares up for the first time, takes low and in for ball 1.
Elvis is in the building. This young man has been probably the best reliever they've had other than their closer, Kenny Giles.
Last night faced 5 batters, retired 4 of them, and issued a walk to David Wright. And Lagares hits one toward the middle of the diamond, and it's booted by Galvis, and Lagares is safe. So each team's shortstop makes an error, and the Mets get a leadoff base runner in the ninth.
Slides over. Ball did not take a funny hop. He just booted it. Sure-handed Galvis makes a mistake.
So the Mets, who could use some insurance before handing it off to Familia, get the leadoff man on, and Granderson comes up. Curtis 0 for 4 tonight. In Detroit, Justin Verlander's no-hit bid broken up in the ninth inning. A leadoff double by Chris Iannetta that hit the chalk down the left field line.
Too bad.
It was like a Carlos Beltran hit.
Yeah. Almost hit.
Or not hit. I guess Adrian Johnson wasn't on hand. Here's Cespedes on deck. So Verlander will have to sit with 2 no-hitters. That's pulled into right field, a base hit for Granderson. Lagares will go first to third. Granderson trying for 2. Brown's throw coming in. Not in time. It trickles away. Lagares breaks for the plate, and he scores. Galvis trying to make a sweeping grab on the play at second base. He came up empty, and his second error of the inning allows Lagares to score to make it 7-4.
But how this is all set up is by great hustle. First a hit by Granderson. He hustles it into a double, and then the throw by Brown is not handled by Galvis. but great running by Lagares, who stayed alive at third base and scored the extra run. He goes first to third. That's great hustle. But then once he gets to third base, watch him take a little peek over his shoulder. He identifies it and scores the run. And you love this hustle from your older right fielder. He turns it on, and they get a hustle run.
So the Mets, with the help of a couple of errors by Freddie Galvis, get a run here in the 9th inning. Pete McCannon will make a pitching change. Mets have added a run to go up 7-4, and the Phillies will go to their bullpen again and bring in Luis Garcia. We'll be right back to Philadelphia. night. 7 runs and 10 hits for the Mets. Michael Kadire with the biggest hit that looked like window dressing at the time. Mets were up 4-0. He hit a 2-run homer in the 8th. Well, that was the difference in the game coming into the 9th. Juan Lagares hustling home with an insurance run, and now the Mets will face Luis Garcia.
See the numbers for Garcia this season. Boy, we talked about that 65 times the starting pitchers for the Phillies have not gone 6 innings. And that's the result. You got guys like Garcia, 57th game.
He's done well against the right-hand hitters, not well at all against left-hand hitters. He'll face the right-hand batting Cespedes, but then he has Murphy up next. By the way, Justin Verlander finished that game for the Tigers. 1 hitter, 9 strikeouts. And Detroit snapped a 5-game losing streak, beating the Angels tonight. Cespedes 1 for 4, an infield hit back in the first. Granderson at second and nobody out. And Rupp down to stop that one. A ball and a strike.
So when Verlander had all that help with Scherzer and Price, he couldn't find his way. And now they're all gone, and he's back to Verlander.
That certainly bodes well for the Tigers going forward.
Yeah.
Anderson dancing off second, drawing Garcia's attention, and Cespedes drives one to right field. That's down for a base hit, hopping up against the wall. Granderson will score. Cespedes turns second. He's going to try for 3. Sweeney's relay throw to third is not in time. It's a triple for Yoenis Cespedes, and it's 8-4 New York. Third triple of the year for Cespedes as he drives home Granderson.
Well, just great hitting. Fastball away, goes that way. That's the one thing we've seen. He uses the whole field. And Dominic Brown got to this pretty quick, and when the ball got into the second baseman Sweeney, I thought they had Cespedes, but he just turned it on. I mean, for a big man, you got to love the way he runs. His stride is a pretty thing to watch.
And he got into fourth gear there and just beat the tag by Blanco. Now the infield in for Murphy. Still nobody out of the inning.
Yeah, Sweeney kind of spiked this ball, didn't get enough on it, and just gets the foot in. A pretty slide.
Murphy 1 for 4 tonight, and he takes a strike, and it's 1-1. So how many runs do the Mets need to score here as you look at Cespedes' slide one more time to convince Terry to use somebody other than Familia in the bottom of the ninth?
Or to stay with Clippard. That could be something you could do also.
The only problem with that is Clippard threw 23 last night, and he had to work hard in that 8th inning.
Yeah.
Threw 10 pitches to 3 batters. So we'll see. Right now, Familia's just standing and watching on the bullpen, waiting to warm up once there is an out or two on the board.
Murphy clocks one to right field. Brown moves over and makes the catch, and Cespedes will tag and come on home. With the 3rd run of the inning, it's 9-4 New York. Murphy's 2nd RBI of the night on the sacrifice fly, and the Mets hitting right back after the Phillies got close in the 8th.
Well, Pete Maccannon's going to make another pitching change. Mets have scored 3 in the top of the 9th. A trivia question: mid-season acquisition with 30 home runs. We think it's Mike Piazza.
Yeah. Must be right one time. There we go. I've been 0 for this trip.
Can't believe it ended a home run as a Marlin. Played 5 games. Here's Michael Cuddyer facing Justin DeFreitas. 3rd pitcher of the inning for the Phillies.
DeFreitas has been the guy they've been just, don't want to say a whipping boy, but Pete Mackanin, the manager, was asked about DeFreitas and said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well, I don't really know what's wrong." He's had plenty of time to try to work it out. He hasn't been able to do it. I don't know what his role in this team is. That's not a ringing endorsement from your manager.
Cuddier's had another big night. RBI double in the first, 2-run homer in the 8th. 6 for 9 in this series with 5 extra base hits. If you're wondering why McCann just made another pitching change, I think it's because Luis Garcia is his 8th inning guy. And now that the game's out of hand, he'd like to save him for tomorrow. Which is why he pulled him out of there now that the Mets have a 5-run lead. There's a bloop into shallow right. Brown comes on, and he trapped the ball, I believe, and he did. It's a base hit for Cuddyer, his 3rd hit of the night.
Big hop, another hit for Cuddyer. Stays sizzling hot.
So the Mets have their 12th hit of the night. Cuddyer at first, still only 1 out. Now Flores is 2 for 4. Tyler Clippard is out on deck. So it looks like we have the answer to that question. He will start the 9th. Well, Clippard doesn't get many at bats, so David Wright trying to provide a little assistance. Give him a chance. Fly ball to right, and Brown has this one lined up. And that's the 2nd out. Cuddyer holds at first, and now Clippard will come to bat. Meanwhile, in Washington, Craig Kimbrell has retired the first 2 in the bottom of the 9th. San Diego 6, Washington 5, 1 out to go.
Love this time of year.
First plate appearance of the season for Clippard. 3 for 14 in his career, so he's hit over 200. That's good. 214 lifetime batting average. Any pitcher would take that. Bailing out on pitch number 1. Clifford's got to uphold the hitting status of the bullpen. Sean Gilmartin came through with his 2nd hit of the year the other night. Got to revel in these at bats if you're a relief pitcher. Geico Sports Night tonight. Chris Carlin in the chair. OCU Manuro retires. National Dog Day. Here's Snoozer. Hello, Snoozer. I didn't know Snoozer was into sabermetrics.
Did you talk about sabermetrics? Didn't you tell me something crazy, some crazy stat that Sean Gilmartin's hit the other night
had the highest exit velocity of all those hits in Monday's game?
All the home runs.
When they hit the 8 home runs, Gilmartin had the highest exit velocity. Not so much exit velocity from Clippard, and Blanco throws him out to end the inning. But the Mets tack on 3 in the top of the 9th and take a 5-run lead into the last half inning. By the Phillies tonight.
I mean, the first batter of the game looked like center fielder Herrera had it measured. Does not make the catch. The Mets score 3 runs in the first inning after that miscue. And then the top of the 9th, Freddie Galvis with an error. He would make another one later to lead off the 9th inning, and the Mets to go on to score 3 more.
So the Mets have a 5-run lead going to the bottom of the 9th, and a chance to expand their lead because it's a final in Washington. Greg Kimbrell got Jason Worth to ground out to end it. Padres win 6-5, and a Mets win tonight would put them 6.5 in front of the Nationals. It would be their largest lead of the season. Lippert came on to get the final out in the 8th. It didn't come easily. An error behind him. Then he gave up a run-scoring hit to Frank Cora before striking out Sweeney with the tying runs on base. Now with some breathing room, we'll face Galvis to lead off in the bottom of the 9th.
Also put the Mets, 14 games over, Gary? Finish this game off?
Well, the part that is so different for the Mets is that early in the season when they were successful at home, they couldn't win on the road. There was a lot of talk about why that was. Nobody has to talk about that anymore.
No.
If the Mets win tonight, they'll be 7-1 on this road trip with 1 more to play tomorrow. Galvis is 0 for 4 tonight.
And it might be that trip that you point to at the end of the year and say, boy, that was the difference in the season.
Pulled foul by Galvis, 1-1. Well, Clippard, because he came on in the 8th in a save situation, if he finishes this game, is still eligible for a save.
He had 17 saves over there with Oakland.
Trying to save it for Bartolo Colon, who was brilliant tonight. 7 scoreless innings, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Galvis lifts one foul, and that'll go out of play. 1-2. Odubel Herrera on deck, and then Ryan Howard for the Phillies in the 9th. Mets trying to beat the Phillies for the 8th straight time. And trying to go to 11-1 against Philadelphia this year.
And 13-3 in the last 16 games here at Citizens Bank Park. Remarkable. Remember, in our 10 years, you'd come here some years and lucky to get a win.
Well, there were games where the Mets would be up by 7 runs and couldn't hold on to the lead. That's just the nature of this place and the nature of the team the Phillies had.
That's right.
They were in their championship mode.
They just had a great core of players, didn't they? With Rollins and Utley and Howard.
And even Worth.
Yeah, Worth. The pitchers.
Shane Victorino. I mean, they had just a great club.
Come to the ballpark here, sold out, 257 times, Chuck just told me. I mean, it was just a raucous atmosphere here.
Now it's more of a Met-friendly atmosphere. Galvis tees off to center field. Lagares eases back, though, and Juan runs it down. 1 out.
Well, as we've seen in the history of these two ball clubs, since the Mets came in 1962, very cyclical in the way things work between the Mets and the Phillies.
Well, over the 54 years, other than those few years in 06, 07, 08, 09, other than those few years, either one team's been good or the other team's been good. It was really only in those team to beat years, as we like to call them.
That's right.
That the two teams really battled on the same level. And since the Mets arrived in '62, each team has won a couple of World Series, but they've only finished 1-2 in the division 5 times in 54 years. Just gives you an idea. 06, 07, 08. 86 doesn't count. What are the Phillies, 21 games back?
They were, but I remember the Mets had a chance to clinch in Philadelphia at Veterans Stadium, and they swept the Mets. So, the team I played on, the Mets, 3 straight games to send the Mets back home, and Dwight Gooden got it done, of course.
That worked out fine. That way you got to clinch at home. Same as in 06, remember?
That's
Mets
right.
got swept in Pittsburgh and then went home and clinched.
That's the game that Keith wasn't feeling well. Didn't start the game, came in the 9th inning. But Dave Magadan went 3 for 3 in that game.
2-1 to Herrera, who's 2 for 4 tonight. Well, Clipper threw 23 pitches last night. He's going to be asked to throw about that many tonight, at least.
Yeah.
So that might render him unavailable for tomorrow.
I do have to say, though, in the 80s, even though the Philadelphia was struggling to have a winning team, they had some really good players. Von Hayes, Juan Samuel was at his peak, stole 72 bases one year. And the Mets and Phillies hated each other. And it wasn't until Lenny was traded and Roger was traded that that hate kind of went away.
Clippard uses the changeup to strike out Herrera. That's his second strikeout. 2 down in the 9th.
Oh, this is his sharpest I've seen Clippard. That changeup just never gets there. The differential between his fastball and changeup is well over 10 miles an hour.
So the Phillies are down to their final out. Ryan Howard is 2 for 4 tonight. This would be a 4-out save for Clippard if he's able to seal the deal. And Howard has to move his feet. Ball 1.
I mean, look at Herrera's bat, already through the zone before the ball even gets there.
Rolled over down to first. Kadyr's got it, and the ball game is over. Bartolo Colon throws 7 scoreless. The Mets have scored 64 runs in their last 6 games, won all 6, and they now have a 6.5 game lead in the National League East as they blast the Phillies 9-4.
You know, Gary, we started in the pregame talking about Michael Kadyr and how he's come alive since coming off the DL. Well, 3 more hits and a big 2-run home run in this game today.
Well, the Mets needed a big outing from Colon, who had been knocked out in the 4th inning in his last start in Colorado, but he continues his stretch of good, bad, good, bad. He was great today. And Colon earns his 11th win of the year. Kadyr had the big bat, and the Mets win their 6th in a row as they beat the Phillies 9-4. And there are the updated standings in the National League East. Mets with their largest lead of the season, now 6.5 games over the Nationals, who lost to the Padres tonight 6-5.